Service center with the highest rated technicians and amenities. Visit us at the Legends Auto Plaza on the southeast corner of 435 and Parallel or online at victoryfordkc.com. Victory Ford, where our first price is better than their last.
You've probably heard Tom Shane on the radio for years, but have you actually experienced a visit to Shane Company? If you're planning to pop the question, we're the destination for you. You just gotta go to the store, or you can go online to create an engagement ring that fits your budget and reflects her personal style. We're talking a massive selection of always natural, always ethically sourced diamonds, rubies, and sapphires, plus a huge assortment of ring settings in every price range. Our team of jewelry consultants will help you find exactly what you're looking for, and you can expect zero pressure because they're all non-commissioned. When you're done collaborating, her engagement ring will look spectacular, like nobody else's ring. She'll get all the compliments, you'll get all the credit. And get this, with their warranty, if anything happens to the ring, they've got you covered for life, for free. Do yourself a favor and get your engagement ring your way, only at Shane Company.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business, Shane Company and shaneco.com.
For the latest on the Kansas City Royals, keep it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
First of all, Skip, how did it feel to be out there with part of your team today in the sun?
Well, the sun feels really good, not to rub it in. When we walked onto the field that last part of the season, they saw good things happening. And then the organization really does an amazing job bringing in some pieces that are going to help us take that next step.
Kansas City's home for Major League Baseball. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Number one all day, every day. Kansas City's hometown radio station. 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City. Isn't this a sports show?
Steve Spagnuolo is a gift to the human race, really to the whole planet altogether. I bet animals would love Spags also. Actually, I know that's true, because they're already friends with the honey badger. He's basically Cinderella.
Almost entirely.
Trying to imagine how that would go.
I actually am right now, yeah. I am, and it's awesome.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
What is that, a glass slipper? Is that for my left foot? Is that going to fit on my foot?
The ball was yesterday?
Wait, what time do we have to go home? Is it midnight?
Oh, is it? Listen.
What time is it?
Good morning, guys.
Wait a second, is that turned into a pumpkin? What time? Is it AM or PM? Midnight and noon.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
You tell me this horse was a rat?
Wait, what? The horse is a rat?
Why is it wearing your shirt?
What's going on with the horse and the rat? Where's my honey badger?
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Some very predictable things happened this sports weekend. There are a couple of stories that are sort of kind of real stories that are kind of interesting. Some things nationally, a couple things locally. I'm not sure I'm fully ready to go down a breakdown of the Royals' potential starting lineup, but most things there are up and running, and most things are up and running here as well. Welcome into a new week of Almost Entirely Sports. I'm Joshua Brisco with Rudy Salazar and Beards McFly. I will say, to get sort of the housekeeping / visual joke in an audio medium out of the way right at the beginning, I was very excited to show everyone the fact that on our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/sportsradio810, we finally now have our first 3 original brand new emotes. They are there. They are spectacular.
I can see them.
Well, if you're logged in, here's the thing. So you can see them.
I can see them, but I see them. Okay.
Well, just give me a second here. Because here's the thing. You can see them on the Twitch, and eventually I'll tweet out like full HD versions of them or whatever. I'm very happy with the 3 emotes that we have had now to kick off, to encourage even more interaction through what is very quickly, I think, becoming our favored way of having listeners interact with the show. The problem is that today, on the first time I've tested it from not the 810 account, I go to click it, and I wanted to click one that is a cartoon of someone on this show with Almost Entirely Sports covered flames behind them. And I wanted to click that several times to really set the tone, not just for this show, but for the week. And there's a little lock over it. And there's also a little lock over the other two. And I have now found that if I want to be able to use those emotes in the Sports Radio 810 Twitch chat, I need to subscribe to the channel. And a tier 3 purchase at this point is $25 a month to use the 3 emotes that I made. And I don't know that I can say that this has been totally successful yet. Because while I would very much like a future in which we're bringing you extra content to the Twitch that would, make it make sense to subscribe to our Twitch channel if you are, a big fan of the show and the types of things that we'll do. There are some, I've had some ideas. We've had some discussions about some ways we might be able to do more there in the future. But I really don't want to make anyone pay $25 a month to use the 3 emotes that I made. So I will Rudy has used several of them now.
There's a slight workaround that will access, I assume for the people who frequent our Twitch, they have earned enough channel points to where if you have 320, you can unlock a random one. I think the random one will always be the Mahomes one since it's tier 1. You cannot unlock more than just the one because I've redeemed it like 5 times. There's just always the Mahomes.
With 480 channel points, you can choose an emote to unlock.
I tried that. It won't let me do the other ones because I think they're tier 2 and tier 3. I think this only applies to tier 1 emotes.
Okay.
But at the very least, you can just kind of get the Mahomes raising a trophy.
Well, so that
is the one I just unlocked.
Okay, well, I guess
pretty sure because it's a tier 1, it only works for tier 1 emotes.
Right, fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what this one is then. So you can decide if it's worth, you can use your channel points to get it is Patrick Mahomes atop the double-decker bus during the parade holding the Lombardi trophy in the air, and it's powerful. It's very strong. It just also, to get to the other ones, is going to cost money that I don't want to necessarily ask you, the listener, to pay at the moment. So I say all this in the front end that, we're still working some things out on our Twitch stream. We've gotten, it's not really 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, as much as it's scoot forward 1 centimeter, wait 3 days, scoot forward 1 centimeter, wait 3 days. But at the very least, the Mahomes that you can unlock with channel points, very strong. And you can see the other ones if you go check out the Twitch. It's at twitch.tv/sportsradio810. You can also watch and interact with the show in a variety of other places as well. You can watch the show on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page, also the Almost Entirely Sports Facebook page, by the way. And then also the 810 YouTube channel is there as well, also live streaming. Plus, you can text the show, 913-912-4810, and you can tweet all of us or at the station at our various Twitter accounts. But there's kind of this weird, this is the first Monday that I really have kind of sat down. I'm not literally at the point of sitting down, but like earlier today, I was going through like, all right, what are we going to talk about? And today is the first Monday that I've really gone like, whew, we really don't have football right now, do we? And that hit me, harder than I wanted it to, I think. Because we're going to get to the point where, like, the franchise tag deadline or the open period is almost here. And then, really, free agency is not that far away. We're going to do a ton of Chiefs all offseason long. But this is the first day I was like, well, I guess we could go back and talk more about the Chiefs pending free agents and break all that down. And we'll do some of that, by the way, with Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest at 8. And then we'll talk a little bit about KU with Nick Schwerdt at 9 tonight. And KU had the most sort of impactful local thing. Mizzou also got off the schneid, but the predictable thing that I mentioned that has happened is something we talked about last week, that of course KU is going to end up being ranked more highly than Mizzou by the end of this season, despite the way their seasons have felt very, very different until the last couple of weeks. Of course this was going to happen.
KU's probably going to end the year with the most wins in the Big 12 and not win the Big 12.
Which
Might
yeah,
not even
bonkers.
finish second in the Big 12.
Baylor is 9-0 in the conference. Oklahoma is 9-4 in the conference, and KU is 11-5 in the Big 12. Just in case anyone hadn't been paying super close attention to that.
Yeah, KU and I think K-State are looking like to be the only teams that actually play a full Big 12 schedule.
And I know Bill Self has even kicked around the idea of, like, do they want to add another game at the end of the year and make sure you stay fresh before the tournament and all that stuff. My inclination is that I'm not sure that makes any enormous amount of sense, but neither here nor there for the time being. KU beats Texas Tech. I don't want to all of a sudden get back into the mode, as we should probably talk about that. We'll talk about it more with Nick in a little bit, but I don't want to totally get into the mode where it's like, yeah, and KU beat Texas Tech, and obviously, you know, they're gonna win the Big 12, whatever, because they're not. That's not who they are this year. But also, you know, the most impactful, kind of interesting thing that I thought came out of this game was what Bill Self said after the game, which was that this is the most excited he's felt about this team all year, which makes a lot of sense. You've had David McCormick on a really excellent stretch. If you checked in towards the beginning of the season and then just hop back in now, you might be confused to hear that. But McCormick had a really nice stretch. They were not by any means like absolutely on fire from three. They shot 30% as a team, 31 if you round up. And that's all fine. They played a game kind of through McCormick for the most part. He's not Udoka Azubuike, but they're a really good basketball team in a version of college basketball that has two teams that belong on a tier of their own, and then a large chunk of teams that could rise and fall kind of within that chunk. And now KU is moving back up later we're going to talk about quarterback buckets again. I've talked about the quarterback bucket many times over the history of this show, that I think the NFL would generally make smarter quarterback decisions if they just thought about this fictional quarterback bucket, where if you have a quarterback that's in the bucket, it doesn't really matter if he's at the top or the bottom of the bucket. You just have a quarterback that is largely interchangeable with the other dudes in that range. So don't overpay for one of the guys that's in the bucket. You may as well get a cheap one or go draft someone. Don't fall in love with the bucket quarterback so you can go get one that will eventually take your franchise out of the bucket. You can use that same analogy for college basketball right now, where there's a massive number of teams that have, you know, a nice little ceiling and still a pretty high floor, and they're not Baylor. And that's fine. And then that's where KU resides. So, again, I think the most interesting thing from that is just this idea that, all right, have they as a team, we talked to Nick last week about this, have they found what their identity is? Can they do something incredibly well? Is this the most excited Bill Self's been all year? Genuinely? Sure, I believe that. Because they beat a bunch of bad teams, and then they handled Texas Tech in a game where they just led wire to wire, and it was closer at the end than it was with a little bit of time to spare. But it was, you know, a game where I don't want to say it was an NFL two-possession lead, but KU had a nice little margin that they handled over the course of the game, and they just looked like a good basketball team playing pretty good basketball. And right now, if you're Kansas, that's a pretty nice change of pace. That's something that feels good to just say they played a good team, and they played them well. Whoop-de-doo. Let's get through these next couple regular season games without something crazy happening or without anything changing, and we'll make it work. I think that's reasonable. Also, not that exciting. That's just sort of that's how I honestly feel at this point. But that's also kind of that's the space that we're in out of this weekend. Some of the most interesting stories came nationally. There's also, I'll tell both Beards and Rudy, both of you this, if you haven't seen it yet. The Ringer did a bracket today that I think is going to be very important to us.
I was just looking at it.
Go ahead and pull that up. You can make your cast your ballots if you want, or you can hold it until, let's say, next segment, and we'll dig into that a little bit.
I think you can't vote anymore.
Oh, seriously?
I think the polls
it was
are closed
like
on
this
Twitter.
morning. They closed the polls in like an hour?
Yep. Polls are closed.
Why wouldn't you give... All right, well, we can at least give our breakdown. It's not March yet, but bracket season has begun.
They were open for 8 hours.
That's not very helpful for us, The Ringer. but whatever. We can go through that. There's a very important bracket that we will in fact circle back to. But I think that maybe the most interesting story of the day, again, is a national one. And there are a couple of little things. One, this might just be me throwing an unexpected water balloon at Beards and just seeing if he catches it or if it splashes him in the face. But the thing that the Timberwolves did, just under the cover of darkness, made me care about the Timberwolves coaching search. And that's not something I thought I was physically capable of handling. But here, Beards, feel free to correct me if I get any of this wrong.
Okay.
So they fired Ryan Saunders, their previous head coach.
Who was also Flip Saunders' son, who's the legendary coach / front office guy of the team who died a few years ago.
If Ryan Saunders walked into this room right now, grabbed Rudy by the hoodie, yanked him to the ground, sat in the chair, and said into this microphone, "I'm Ryan bleeping Saunders, the former head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I'm the co-host of this radio show now," I would forget his name by the time we got to the end of the segment. I would not recognize him if he was wearing a shirt that said, "I am Ryan Saunders, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves." I didn't know that he was the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves until like a week ago, when for some reason...
He's been the coach since 2019,
For
2018.
some reason, the information has just never stuck in my head, and I'm not worried about it. For some reason, I was thinking about him a couple of weeks ago, and I had the thought of, oh, this is funny. I will forget who this man is within 2 minutes because I've done this before. And then he got fired. But so, Josh, why do any of us care about the Minnesota Timberwolves' former head coach? Great question. They fired him last night after their game Sunday. They fired Ryan Saunders. Today, this morning, they hired Chris Finch as their next head coach. He is not their interim head coach. He was on an in-building candidate. He is an assistant for the usually Toronto, currently Tampa Bay Raptors. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that in professional sports. Mid-season, where a coach gets fired, his replacement is hired, his permanent replacement is hired from another team within like 12 hours. Obviously, they did not undergo a grand coaching search. They knew what they wanted to do, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I've never seen anything like that. Certainly nothing that like transparent, where there's not even like a faux coaching search. I just thought that was baffling.
I mean, you don't normally see you see plenty of in-season firings, but you usually have an interim who holds things down for the rest of the year.
Right. The interim head coach. He's the assistant who's been at the end of the bench for 12 years, and then he'll go back to the end of the bench whenever next season starts, and you go hire someone else's assistant.
Yeah. What I will say though, what I like about it at the very least is, if you know like this is the guy who you want, why wait till the end of the year when there are more teams now vying for him? Because here's the thing. The fact that my guess is he was a guy who was probably going to get interviewed by probably by multiple teams, probably would have had at least one other offer. Why wait? If you like the guy, it's just like if you know that this is the guy who you want to be the replacement, go grab him. You don't normally see it. I mean, you don't really see it in any sport. It's very rare.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it.
Beards, I assume you have a take just because the fan is so loud.
Not really. I mean, Minnesota's just kind of been...
Here's the thing. Hey,
Minnesota's
quick,
been a dumpster fire for years.
Time out. Huddle up, everybody. Beards, if you don't have a take about the Minnesota Timberwolves hiring a new head coach in a weird way, I'm going to forget everything I thought I knew about you. Go ahead.
I mean, other than just the fact that Minnesota's not well run and hasn't been for a long time, it was kind of surprising, but in the same way, it was just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense for something that Minnesota would do. They're not good. So, and they probably expected to be better than they are with the guys that they have. So it's not surprising that he was fired. It's everything else around it was a little surprising, though.
I mean, simply
they think they should be semi-contenders for the playoffs, and they're the 15th seed.
Right. I mean, I understand.
And have been forever.
It's like someone has a white noise machine behind you.
Oh, I know.
Just the process of it is like jarring. And the other thing, this isn't quite Bill O'Brien starting Deshaun Watson's rookie season with 30 minutes of Tom Savage. It was Tom Savage, right? I've complained about that so many times. I think it was Tom Savage. It wasn't playing 30 minutes of Tom Savage and then bringing in Deshaun Watson at halftime. But if they were like, all right, we know our head coach for next year, we want it to be this dude, but we're going to wait 30 games before we pull that trigger. Like, for them to have so clearly had their next plan lined up, it's literally, it's the Texans hiring David Culley, and then everyone seems to know that Josh McCown is who they actually want to be their next head coach. It's just very, very odd. And I understand that the Timberwolves had a very bad start to their season.
They also had Towns out for a long time. He's only played, I think, 10 games this year because of COVID stuff. But they're not good to begin with.
But to decide, we know where we're gonna. If we are terrible still in a week, we're gonna talk to this dude from the Raptors for the next week, and then if we're still terrible in a week, we're gonna make this move in as long a time as it takes to fly from Tampa to Minnesota. Beards, it's bad to listen to. I know there's nothing you can do about it, and I don't want to just tell you to turn off your mic unless you are about to speak, are actively speaking into it.
There was one other thing I saw.
Go for it. It's just whenever especially when you're not talking, it's just very bad.
The weird, not super weird, but this was criticized also by not their own players. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum came out and they were like, "Hey, this guy who was their former assistant for 7 years is sitting. David Vanderpool is over on the Timberwolves bench now, and they're like, hey, that guy was right there. He was really impactful for our careers. Why would you not hire that guy who's done a lot for the NBA over the years?" So that was surprising to me when it was two guys not associated with the team came out and said something as well.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. This is me going out over my skis a little bit, and I know this will not be a one-to-one comparison, but that specific vibe of they hire also just sort of random white assistant from the Raptors instead of hiring Vanderpool. It had a little bit of the Eric Bieniemy conversation vibes, like the very beginning of the bubbles of it. Not even from this year's coaching cycle, but last year's. So I wonder if those calls will get louder if Vanderpool doesn't end up getting a job relatively soon. And again, that's a conversation we can have just because we've got a lot of reps in. We got 2 years of shooting those shots and putting those takes up about Bieniemy. I do wonder if there will be a through line there that does continue to seem similar. Again, I don't even want to compare the situations because they are very much comparing apples to oranges / footballs to basketballs. But specifically seeing that from Lillard, it had very why wouldn't you hire Eric Bieniemy vibes to me. I thought that's kind of interesting. I don't even think that's the most interesting national story that's happened. The other one is just not all that fun. It's not the most difficult of the not super fun stories, but it's also just not super fun. Why don't we take a break? And whenever we come back, because we got a smorgasbord of stuff today. We'll have Matt Derrick in 30 minutes, Nick Schwerdt to talk about KU in an hour and a half. Whenever we come back, I want to talk about the thing that happened with the Seattle Mariners organization and their former now president. Some things that he said that I think just become, I don't even need to sermonize about it. This one's easy, and it's just sort of a remarkable exercise in somebody being way more boisterous than they have any reason to be and way dumber than they should have been. And ultimately it ended with everyone going oh yeah, this is easy. Let's make this change. And ultimately it seems like it'll be better for everybody. But if you want to talk about that, we'll do it whenever we come back.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
February marks the final month of the Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned event at Aristocrat Motors. It's your opportunity to select your certified pre-owned Mercedes from our large selection and enjoy unlimited confidence with the unlimited mileage warranty combined with 2 payments on most models when financed with Mercedes-Benz Financial. Pick out yours today at Aristocrat Motors, I-35 and Shawnee Mission Parkway, or online at aristocratmotors.com. Offer ends February 28, 2021. MBFS offered with approved credit.
Want a low fixed rate in the twos? It's yours. Looking for a true no-cost loan? You got it. How does A1 Mortgage do this? The answer is simple, by offering real-time rates without the inflated markup. Call A1 Mortgage now at 816-822-8888, 822-8888. Whether you're purchasing or refinancing, FHA, VA, conventional, or jumbo, A1 Mortgage has you covered with fixed rates starting in the 2s, true no-cost loans, and financing up to 100%. Call A1 Mortgage now and have your loan closed in about a week and enjoy no payments for 2 months. 816-822-8888. That's 822-8888. Or apply online at mya1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group LLC, a Kansas licensed mortgage company, license number MC0001649, NMLS 268370. Programs and rates subject to change without notice.
Sometimes you're in so much pain and you fought it for so long, you're exhausted and think, just make it stop. Hey, this is Stephen St. John. I want you to know that safe alternatives to pain management exist. I'm talking about the modern medicine and treatment at QC Kinetics. These are the next generation of breakthrough treatment options that provide long-lasting relief for chronic pain in your knees, hips, back, shoulders, and feet. QC Kinetics offers patients like you non-surgical, painless, and effective relief to stop your chronic pain once and for all. These regenerative therapies help repair damaged tissue caused by arthritis, old injuries, organ failure, neurologic, or other conditions. Regenerative procedures are the new standard in medicine for people like you and me, treatments that elite athletes have been using for years. Call now. QC Kinetics, right off 435 and State Line, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299.
As we all try and get back to normal after the devastating winter storm, Diamonds Direct is warming things up with some good news. We're extending our special finance offer one more week. Now through Saturday, you can get 5 years zero-interest financing on anything and everything. That means you can get a $10,000 engagement ring and pay just $167 a month. In the wake of the unprecedented winter storm, we realize your life was put on hold, so we're giving you this additional time to pick up where you left off. You can use this extended opportunity to get that post-Valentine's gift, prepare for your spring proposal, or just use it as an excuse to splurge for any upcoming occasion. Everything's included at any price point. Engagement rings, fashion rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, pendants, colored gemstone jewelry, and exquisite designer jewelry. At Diamonds Direct, we believe it's more important than ever to show your special someone how much you love them. So now through this Saturday, you can pick any item at Diamonds Direct, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest. Diamonds Direct.
At 119th and Row.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You know this about me. I love the goofs and the ha-has. And that, frankly, should be the name of this show. I love the goofs and the ha-has.
On Sports Radio 810, WHB.
The most interesting story of the day just throughout the sports world, as I mentioned last segment, isn't a terribly fun one. It's also not that difficult of one to navigate, which I suppose is a good thing, just because this one's relatively cut and dried. What do you think, Josh? Why do I care about the Mariners team president? Maybe you don't. I guess it's okay if you don't. At the very least, you ought to look through the glass at the zoo here and watch the animal just like trip and fall into its own poop. That's basically the spectacle of this story. Focusing on that outside of just some of the like hurtful, stupid things that come from it, it's so outrageously dumb in so many ways that I hope that that's the part that we can focus on. Because again, I don't think we need to do a whole lot of blah 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 cancel culture blah 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 on this. I think this one's relatively cut and dried. But to explain everything, I am not going to explain it myself. I'm going to explain it reading the works of Jeff Passan. His works are written on the internet, so therefore I am going to read from the internet.
And now, Josh reads the internet.
Jeff Passan on ESPN.com. Over the course of a 45-minute chat to a local Rotary Club in early February, Seattle Mariners CEO Kevin Mather disparaged a Japanese player for not learning English, belittled a star prospect from the Dominican Republic for his language skills, and derided another top prospect while admitting to manipulating his service time. He called his team's best pitcher, quote, very boring, unquote, and embellished the pitcher's actions in a clubhouse incident, told another falsehood about a well-respected veteran, and complained that the franchise's best player over the past decade was overpaid. Can you drop the music for a second? I want it back. I'm just no longer reading the internet. That was, I believe, 2 sentences of Jeff Passan just standing up like milk bottles in a carnival game and then knocking them all down again in one exact throw. It's all of those things. And like, well, okay, but other than that, what did he say over the course of 40? Do you know how hard it is to cover all that ground in a 45-minute conversation? If you give me 45 minutes to essentially belittle every single person on the planet, I don't think I could get through that much in 45 minutes. Back to the reading. Any one of these blunders is incalculably foolish. Together, they expose pathological levels of arrogance, hubris, and myopia. This was one of the 30 people entrusted to run a Major League Baseball franchise before Mather resigned from his position on Monday afternoon. Am I pronouncing his name right? I listened to several conversations about it, and it doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth.
I assume it's Mather.
I think it's Mather. I think I heard Mather, and I'm hitting in a different way.
I haven't heard any videos, footage essentially where they've actually said his name, but I would assume it's Kevin Mather. Mather.
Mather.
Mather.
Sorry, I'm not reading the internet again, Beards. I apologize. No, because what it was, as I had the sort of, I heard it. I wanted to catch it this way. I remember it's like Marshall Mathers. That was what I would remember because I was listening to a reporter from a Seattle newspaper talk about this story, and that's where I was going from. It's not mather, like a person who does math. It's Mather. And almost indistinguishable difference that I stopped the show to correct myself on. Back to the reading. It wasn't just that Mather said what he did. It's that he thinks it in the first place, and that he believed a group of Rotarians represented the right audience to tell his warped version of the truth, and that in an apology, he deemed the episode, quote, a lapse in judgment, as if bigotry is a one-time thing you try out on a call with strangers, or telling fake stories about the people who are at the heart of the business you're supposed to be running constitutes good judgment. The mistrust sown by his comments reverberated deep into the player ranks Sunday, sources told ESPN. The gamut of feelings ranged from angry, to quote, sad, to, quote, what the expletive was he thinking? I'll read 2 more paragraphs. The second one here is a real zinger. Apparently, Mather emptied his reservoir of candor during the Q&A because his statement alternated between disingenuous, him trying to take ownership of his comments on baseball operations decisions when they clearly reflect organization-wide priorities, and hollow. Mather's statement that he is, quote, committed to make amends, unquote, and will, quote, do whatever it takes to repair the damage I have caused to the Seattle Mariners organization, unquote, sounded rather familiar. Perhaps it's because in 2018, after a Seattle Times report exposed 2 complaints from female employees against Mather, he said, quote, I'm committed to ensuring that every Mariners employee feels comfortable and respected. I'll call it there. There's me reading the internet. So here's a couple of things off of this story. And here's why I think this one is so easy. First of all, this dude, again, kind of paraphrasing the reporter that I was listening to. He was on the Lebitard show earlier today. I was listening to that on the way in tonight. Part of this is that he already had a series of complaints that, again, paraphrasing from the reporter, he was very much protected by the organization over the course of it. So all of these words about how I'm committed to being better and to making everybody around me feel comfortable, blah, 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 is just completely weightless lip service. There's just no meat on that bone at all whatsoever.
It's the South Park. We're sorry.
It's literally that.
Sorry.
And for all of the typically incredibly reductive and responsibility sidestepping conversations that we have about cancel culture. Oh, everybody just gets canceled all the time. We're also politically correct. I don't know what that voice is, but it's what I decided to go with that. For all of those conversations that we end up kicking around as if it's somehow intellectually honest in the first place, this is a guy who absolutely was able to hold up this wobbly shield with nothing behind it and kept his job and was given an opportunity to not be a bleep head in front of a Rotary Club for 45 minutes in a Zoom call. And this is what he did with it. We can get into some of the xenophobia of that if you want. We can get into the way that this is bad business if you want. We can get into the sheer stupidity of saying all of these things out loud if you want. They're all worth dunking on because it's all of those things in these giant helpings that are so startling to see all functioning together. Passon continued to write about Julio Rodriguez. He's one of the best prospects in baseball and the Mariners' top prospect. The reporter from Seattle I was listening to earlier was saying he's requested to do interviews in English for a while now. Passon points out that there's a YouTube video up on the Mariners page from a couple years ago of him speaking perfectly fine English. And that it was like a point of pride. That like, hey, I was able to come from the Dominican Republic and then end up with a command of the English language in a way that's gonna keep me from having to deal with this exact type of complaint. Which is unfair on its face, because you're talking about in some instances players coming from Japan and some instances players coming from the Dominican Republic, and the standards that they get held to in terms of like being marketable or available for the media and all that stuff. They have to work twice as hard in a secondary language to make guys like this dude comfortable with how they're representing the organization or whatever. Mather also complains about paying interpreters, which is just like the most outrageously silly thing imaginable, because if you're going to second guess these non-native English speakers in your organization, if this is going to be the thing that keeps you up at night, which is massively silly, at the very least, you would think, all right, well, at least we've got interpreters working with them and with the organization that are clearing up the communication pathways to try to have us all working as closely and as beneficially to each other as possible. But nope, that's too smart. That makes too much sense for Kevin Mather. The calling his team's best pitcher very boring is just it's just outrageously stupid for a thing. This is not a radio host in Seattle saying, oh man, it kind of stinks, this team's not more interesting. This is the president of your organization on a Zoom call that had the recording light in the top corner. To think any of these things is just remarkably dense and in many cases kind of vicious. But then to say this out loud as one of the highest ranking representatives of your baseball team is just that, honestly, like, middle-aged, powerful white dude says xenophobic things doesn't really fire off my news radar at this point anymore. It's worth acknowledging, but we're at a point sort of news cycle-wise where being surprised by that would be silly of me. But then just team president take shots at every single good player in organization is a pretty jarring thing to catch up on. And so he's resigned. The Mariners let it roll out for a little while, but that split had to happen. there's just something in kind of the blinding stupidity of it that really struck me from this story, because it's just bleeping it up on so many levels all at once. Hold on, we now go to Mars, where Beards is broadcasting in from the rover that's up there. Now go ahead, Beards.
Doesn't Seattle also have a large Asian population as well?
They were Ichiro's team.
Right.
They're intrinsically linked.
Don't be dumb.
It's so dumb.
Do you not know who lives in the city where your team is?
I don't know if Ichiro lives in Seattle anymore or not.
No, I mean just like the general population.
Oh, fair. I don't actually know. I don't know the actual cultural impact or the cultural breakdown of Seattle. Did you Google it?
I did.
Well, there you go. Look at Beards being informed before he says
14%
so.
Asian from 2010.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2016, 14.1%.
It's just... And it's also, by the way, it's not just former players and the organization altogether, but Passon writes, you need to play the music. I wonder, most of all, whether Hisaki Iwakuma feels comfortable and respected. In January, the Mariners brought back Iwakuma, who pitched very well for the team over 6 seasons after coming over from Japan as a special assignment coach. After explaining the hiring, Mather's first words to the Rotarians were, "Wonderful human being. His English was terrible." Mather felt comfortable enough to air a grievance. Quote, "I'm tired of paying his interpreter." He smiled and laughed as he said it. Iwakuma is 39. He made nearly $50 million with the Mariners. He doesn't need this job. He doesn't need this organization. He doesn't need someone who's going to look at his desire to be understood as a weakness. And he damn sure doesn't need to be judged by someone who was promoted even after he was the subject of sexual harassment complaints for allegedly rubbing one female employee's back without permission and making inappropriate jokes about women in the office to another employee. Passon came with firecrackers through this entire... This story is worth your time to read.
Sorry.
You produced that much more quickly than I would have expected. But that's the key.
I had to use a different YouTube downloader thing.
The key is it's got to be something that to get Beards to do anything, you got to inception Beards.
Mhm.
You got to say, hey Beards, that's a great idea that you had to, wash my car.
We're sorry.
And I really don't want to. I don't want to overlook the just sort of casual, off-the-cuff racism and xenophobia that comes throughout this entire story, because it is intrinsic to it, and it is the point of it. But I think I'm just distracted by the outrageous stupidity of it. Like, we can say that these are the words of a racist xenophobe. I'm totally comfortable labeling that. I don't want to shy away from that point. But not necessarily most importantly, but most explosively, it is a very, very dumb, powerful racist xenophobe. The words of one.
I'm deeply sorry.
And if you just give him one more chance, he'll really prove his commitment to making sure that everybody is comfortable for things like, I don't know, their race and the language they speak.
We're sorry.
It's also, I just don't understand it, man. As an extremely powerful figure in that organization, you're complaining about paying an interpreter. And again, that's not the point. It's just one of the symptoms of that mindset that's so baffling to me. Because it's also none of it is that difficult. One thing that this is a big picture. This is just a large scale thing. We'll see where this goes. We're here. I thought about bailing. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. One of the persistently confusing things I keep going back to as people stand up against cancel culture or political correctness or whatever. You can put whatever label on it you want, and everybody's they're moving targets and evolving definitions and whatever. The one thing that's always kind of that's always come back around, is just how damn difficult some people seem to make things for themselves. And I don't just mean like putting on a filter so you don't say something about all of your Asian or Dominican employees and players. I don't mean filtering that stuff out. I mean, like, why is that such an intrinsically ingrained thing within you that you have like this vitriolic response to someone not having a full and total command of the English language that is not their first language, whenever you can't get through a Zoom call without losing your job because of the things that you are putting out there in your native language.
Well, I mean, listen, his net worth, I just Googled, is only $1 million. Those interpreters are dang expensive, man.
Well, yeah, and go ahead and see if you can find the Mariners' payroll if you want. I'm guessing they could fit. I also was listening to David Sampson, the former president of the Marlins, and also I've enjoyed sort of his post-career work, largely with the Le Batard show, but like a pretty notorious kind of like baseball scumbag. Not for like the out of business stuff, but within the business of baseball, and he's largely despised in Miami and all of that for just like the way that organization operated. He was talking about how you like because Miami had signed Ichiro for a chunk of time towards at the end of his career. Was that his last stop? It was probably his last stop, right?
I think he went back to Seattle for one
Did he?
more
I think
year.
that's right.
But he spent 2 years in Miami.
I would say, yeah, a couple of years, and it's probably late 30s.
He might have got hit 3,000 with the
that is
Miami.
absolutely yes.
Because I think
true.
that was like part of the reason why, like, I think Miami signed, because like they were a bad team, and it was like, okay, but hey, if we have Ichiro going for 3,000,
you're right.
That's cool.
That definitely happened. He did definitely. I don't remember if it was like at home or on the road, but it was as a Marlin.
From 2015 to 2017, so 41, 42, and 43. And then he spent 2 more seasons. And when I say 2 more seasons with Seattle, he played 15 games in 2018 and 2 games in 2019.
Really? He played 2 games in 2019?
Yeah.
Boy, I would have gotten that one way wrong. I mean, 2 games is really weird, but I don't remember either of those years in Seattle like at all. Regardless, Sampson was talking about that like whenever they were signing Ichiro, that like it was his interpreter, which makes a lot of sense. You would want to probably have the same person helping you go between languages.
I forgot he was a Yankee.
That's right.
He was a
sure
Yankee
was.
in between Seattle and Miami. I don't remember Yankee Ichiro.
I do vaguely, but that was probably just on the outside of my like big Yankee fan bubble.
Yeah, it was 2012 to 2014, which is
I forgot about that too.
Forever ago.
Yeah, lifetime. But Sampson was saying that like they negotiated over how much they were going to pay his interpreter and whatever. Like he said that was a part of the conversations, which still feels a little icky to me. But like if that's a part of your conversation, that's fine. But don't go out and complain about it on a Zoom call with 45 randos. It's just so very odd.
Sorry.
But the larger point that I mentioned a second ago is just why is all this so difficult to navigate for people? I mean, because like there are some things where I think also, by the way, like I would in some part, and I would say this more confidently in sports than maybe anywhere else. We largely, while it may be a culture that likes to see a news story and maybe you get a pint of blood out of somebody, there are very few things that we in entertainment or in America in general love more than a good second chance story that pays off. We love that stuff. It's like, have consequences for your actions and the door will be propped open for you if you want to try to make a comeback. That happens all the time, everywhere. All you have to do is have like the vaguest amount of learning from your mistakes and understanding that they are mistakes, and not just say the same thing over and over of, well, this time I'm committed to being better.
We are deeply sorry.
That usually will get it done. That'll usually do it. And instead, this dude, is just gonna. I mean, he's gonna be this dude. He'll take his $1 million that he's made or whatever CelebrityNetWorth.com says about Kevin Mather, and he'll probably go into the shadows, and then he'll probably end up being an assistant on some other squad in a little while, and we're all gonna go, oh yeah, I remember him. I remember whenever he said a bunch of things that would really just sort of lead directly towards a pretty miserable working environment, especially for foreign-born players.
Honestly, there's a good chance he won't work in baseball again, but he'll go work for a company that's run by a buddy of his, where he'll honestly, good chance he'll make more money.
Probably true.
And he'll no longer be in the public eye. He can just do what he wants. Because like once you ran one like company or organization, like you just cycle through others.
Yeah.
Like that's just how that whole thing works.
No, he'll go. You're right. He'll have some baseball adjacent job, whatever. It's just again, I don't even think this story is one that like demands 20 minutes of close dissection.
And yet here we are.
Well, but I think we're talking about it. I think it definitely deserves a conversation about it. I just don't think this one's difficult. Because if you can say honestly, yes, I want that man to be the president of my baseball team, even though he hates our best pitcher and our top prospect and paying interpreters. No. That one's really easy. Sorry, Beards, I stepped on it. Go ahead, do it again.
We're sorry.
This one's not complicated. This dude should not be the president of a Major League Baseball team. Easy peasy. Play it again, Beards.
We're sorry.
At JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Brian Pringle with Victory Ford at the Legends in KCK. Victory Ford is dedicated to one thing, serving you. Our staff are experts in providing you the knowledge needed to make the right decision on your next car or truck. Fantastic customer service doesn't end when the sale does. Our dealership also staffs a 5-star service center with the highest rated technicians and amenities. Visit us at the Legends Auto Plaza on the southeast corner of 435 and Parallel or online at victoryfordkc.com. Victory Ford, where our first price is better than their last.
Okay, set it down over there and then go to Bay 5.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Need to keep going to finish.
Like Amir's warehouse. To expand capacity, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Every weekday on Sports Radio 810, tune in to hear Kansas City's favorite local lineup. At 6 a.m., wake up with the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bucati. At 10, it's The Zone with Jason Anderson. Now at 2, get into the program with Soren Petro. And wrap up your day on Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco. Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rick Edelman, #1 New York Times bestselling author and founder of Edelman Financial Engines, takes questions on his hit radio show. Let's listen to Rick help a caller who's saving for retirement.
Hey, Rick, how can I keep my retirement money safe?
By taking some risk. That sounds weird, I know, but when it comes to saving for retirement, if you try to keep your money safe, you're actually taking big risks. Savings accounts, well, they're not safe from inflation. They're not safe from taxes. There are, in fact, 18 different asset classes, and they all have different risks. So spread your money around so no one thing can wipe you out. It's like having 12 eggs in 12 baskets. Diversification helps you manage your risk while still giving you the opportunities provided by the financial markets.
That was award-winning radio host Rick Edelman. Get help diversifying your portfolio from one of our financial planners by calling 888-PLAN-RICK or visit rickedelman.com.
With its dedication to bringing wellness to Kansas City, CBD American Shaman is excited to announce the opening of Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness at 117th and Row in Camelot Court. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness offers medical aesthetics and IV nutrient therapy, and there is a full-service CBD American Shaman store there too. Start your journey to wellness with Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness. Go to shamantotalwellness.com. Remember, life is better with a feather.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Do not send unsolicited pictures of your genitals to anybody! It's not that hard! Difficult! I should have said it's not that difficult.
But you said it's not that hard.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
That's very good work, Beards. That's good. I mean, I guess it's good work, me. Bad work, me. Good work, Beards, maybe?
I'll take it.
Oh. I forgot that is where that segment ended up. Yeah, listen, at the very
And
least...
it had my Frankenstein center field underneath it,
It
too.
really adds to the ambiance. And by ambiance, I mean the vibe that makes it feel like I'm in literal baseball hell. I guess that's the upside of the Kevin Mather story. At least he wasn't sending diddly pics. It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult to come up with good euphemisms that aren't also profane around that particular topic. I feel like if we were going to come up with some, it would have happened whenever we were actually talking about it. So,
I mean, there's the whole Kansas City Royals thing of, hitting dongs.
Sure. Yeah. Pictures from Dongtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of have to be a moose, though, to go to Dongtown.
Or Slugger in that one picture, which is where I kind of thought Beards was going in for a second. Remember that?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Hey, why'd you put that up on the Twitch stream, Beards? We have this new technology that shows, what is on your screen if we want to screen share. Really, the production value is incredible. Should I make
could do that, but I'm not gonna.
Should I make that the next emote? Can I do that, you think? It's just Slugger.
You can try.
Just Slugger being a part of a dance.
Just dancing with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way of putting it. Has anyone done like a history on that photo? Or, is there a story been written about it? Because I'd love to know more about that.
Not that I know of.
Let's do some research.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
Rock your home with new tops from Kansas City's best countertop fabricator, Rock Tops. They custom fabricate and install stone surfaces that will make you fall in love with your home. Making homes look incredible is Rock Tops' thing. Being nice just comes naturally. Rock Tops offers carry-out samples and virtual or in-home appointments. Call 913-782-0802 or go to rocktopskc.com. Mention 810 Rocks to receive 10% off right now.
This is your 30-day warning.
Deep three, ring it up! It is good! As time expires!
From ruin to redemption, the Virginia Cavaliers. Chalmers, 4-3, and the tie, he got it! He got it!
March Madness, the Final Four, and National Championship are all on America's largest all-sports radio station. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, a new baby, or just because, a gift of fine jewelry from Shane Company will make any moment more special and memorable. With the largest selection of styles in every price range, finding a meaningful gift will be easy. We have all the classics, as well as new styles for spring, unique necklaces, earrings, bracelets, and rings made with hand-picked natural stones. You can also customize a gemstone pendant just for her. Choose her birthstone or a gemstone in a color she loves. We have vibrant rubies, sapphires in over a dozen colors, and a range of popular gemstones, always natural and ethically sourced. With our superior craftsmanship, your gift will be made with heirloom quality that's guaranteed for life. Best of all, it'll remind her of you. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
If you're between the ages of 18 and 39, here's an amazing deal for you. You can become a young professional member at Tiffany Green's Golf Club. Monthly rates starting as low as $150 a month with unlimited golf, unlimited cart usage, unlimited practice range, member discounts, and much more. So get your friends and coworkers and join in on this amazing plan and start growing your friendships while enjoying the game of golf. Whether you come out and play as much as you can after work or enjoy the day on the course on the weekend, take advantage of the Young Professionals plan at Tiffany Green's Golf Club. Go to TiffanyGreensGolf.com.
Number 1 all day, every day. Kansas City's hometown radio station. 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810. WHB, Kansas City.
Is Sports Center. I'm Jim Basco. Make it 4-0 for the Duke Blue Devils since Jalen Johnson's opt-outers there getting right at the right time. And Duke, an 85-81 winner over Syracuse, getting balance from start to finish.
Coming up on the 12-minute mark, and Duke will spread the floor. Stewart resets, throws angle left to Goldwire. Deep three, left side. Good for Goldwire. 70-53 in favor of the Blue Devils.
Sean Kelly, ESPN Radio, one of 13 threes they hit in the 14-point win. Meantime, ESPN has 18th-ranked Texas Tech and the Cowboys of Oklahoma State, who featured Cade Cunningham, a potential top overall pick in the draft, and that one's set to tip off. Top 5 in the latest AP poll remain the same. Ohio State's loss to Michigan didn't hurt them. 3 from the Big Ten following Gonzaga and Baylor, with the Wolverines, Buckeyes, and Illinois rounding out that top 5. Mariners CEO Kevin Mather resigning after a video surfaced of him expressing his views about some players and club operations. Chairman John Stanton will take over the roles of CEO and team president on an interim basis. NBA, the Mavericks have scored 20 of the game's first 25 points and have a 20-9 lead on the Grizzlies, while the Rockets trail the Bulls at the half 54-48. Chicago jumped out to a 22-7 edge in this game. Meantime, ESPN Plus has the defending Stanley Cup champion Lightning and Hurricanes square at 2 as the third period is set to get underway. Carolina leads the Central 12-3-1. They've also shut out Tampa twice this season.
Hey, it's Greeny, and Monday, DeMaurice Smith will be with me, the executive director of the NFLPA. Are players really, from now on, going to take total control of their destiny? He knows, and he'll tell you. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN Plus.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Did you know that today was Talk Like a Pirate Day, and what is your best pirate phrase?
I did know that it was, and I really don't have a good pirate phrase.
Well, you're on the spot right now. I'm going to need one.
That's it right there. That was it. That was it. There she blows.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Man, that's just a tough noise that Matt Derrick made many moons ago. It is Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest joining us now here on Almost Entirely Sports. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. He has eclipsed the 20,000 Twitter follower mark. He does not have a new book for us yet because the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, as we established last week. But you can still grab At Last if you want, triumphbooks.com/ChiefsWin, and you can read everything that he puts up on ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, as the offseason feels like it has really, really landed, are you thinking that maybe you're going to revisit your pirate impression this offseason?
I will say I've made tougher noises than that since then. I make tougher noises than that on a daily basis.
It's a very challenging one. In fact, Beards is going to try to find these. In fact, if you can get this by the end of the segment, Beards, it'd be great.
Oh yeah, I know where they are.
Our other guest tonight is Nick Schwerdt of KLWN in Lawrence, and the two of you have made two of our most sort of, I think, famous bad noises, other than the thousands that I make every night, just with my words. And I'd like to put them head to head and try to figure out which one is sort of more comical. But the pirate one just goes on for so long.
It's my resigned pirate. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. It's just very, very challenging.
Yeah, I can testify that when you asked me to do that, I started it and I think you can tell I had no idea where to go with it and how to finish.
You went up with the ball and had no plan at all for how to get it out of your hand.
Exactly. I had no plan to dish it, to throw it, shoot it. I just went up and then came back down.
Beards, do you have both sounds now?
Oh, I do. Which one do you want first?
I mean, just go ahead and play Matt again as the bass line. Now play Nick.
Oh, wow.
Play him again.
One is full of life and one is like ending of life.
Yeah, one sounds like your final breath leaving your body, and the other one sounds like Chewbacca having sex. I mean, that's just what it sounds like.
Dying pirate or jubilant Wookiee.
Yeah, jubilant Wookiee. Please don't Google that on the work internet, you guys. Do not Google jubilant Wookiee. Holy bleep, those are both very good. Just go ahead and keep those on. Just if I get,
I've got them up.
If I seem sad at any point for the rest of my life, Beards, if you could just send me those sweet MP3s, just in a text or whatever.
Now, I did find, as I was looking, I remember that we also have yours and my and Rudy's Wookiee calls.
Oh, sure.
Do you want me
Okay.
to pull those up?
Yeah,
And Les Miles?
Yeah, so go ahead and pull up all the Wookiee calls. Matt, here's what we'll do. At the end of the segment, you're our resident Star Wars expert, as we discussed last week, in a way that now is even more official. You've got your custom droid from Star Wars World, or whatever it's called, Galaxy's Edge. And you can judge all of the Wookiee calls in a way that I will explain the core conceit of why that was even happening at a later time. But there's our tease for later in the segment. Oh, man. It really is the offseason. I don't know if that's become clear or not. We've
hit peak offseason.
And it is still February, which is concerning. Because I was just going through some Chiefs stuff this morning and over the course of the day today. I'm kind of thinking, all right, well, there are a couple of things that, some storylines, both with the Chiefs and both in the division that I knew I was going to ask you about. But it really hit today that, oh yeah, we are in that time of year where the Chiefs largely stop giving us new things to talk about. We just kind of reskin the previous iteration of some other story or whatever. And so, and that's a bad feeling, because I like it whenever we get slightly different versions of conversations, at least over the course of, the season or even leading right up into the draft. But there's kind of this space now where most of the things from last year are frozen in place. We haven't warmed everything up enough to get into free agency, and the draft's not quite here yet and all those things. So in kind of this carbonite frozen version of the NFL, has anything caught your eye in the last week, or kind of done any work looking back on some storylines that are going to become relevant again soon that's interesting to you?
No.
All right, let's talk about Deshaun Watson.
I mean, that's the crazy thing to a degree, is that, there's not really a whole lot happening. I mean, there's some guys becoming available, and you can start obviously contemplating what's going to happen, since we're only 17 plus 8, 25 days away from the beginning of the new league year.
Yeah.
So you can start getting excited, but to me, this is still the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, we've still got some time, but if anything, the things that I just keep seeing that come through my timeline right now of life is just, you know what? There's just a lot of organizations in the NFL that just have absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why, they continue to not know what they're doing. Just weird things that happen around the league, and players that become available, and dead cap space, and all these stories. And it just reminds me, you know what? Chiefs fans are really lucky that they got a team that knows what they're doing.
I was thinking about that literally earlier today, because I was doing a podcast. I was being an illustrious guest on a podcast, no less, and the sort of like Stafford, Goff, Wentz conversation came up, and it's funny because as each of those moves have happened, we have analyzed and reanalyzed and dug in on those things time and time and time again, as if it's going to change the landscape of the league, when in reality,
it's going to impact that team. Like I even compared it to the Chiefs trading for Alex Smith. That did change the setup of the Chiefs in a pretty legitimate way, but it also did not change the landscape of the NFL because you really need to have one of like 4 quarterbacks if you want to be a team that is changing what the league looks like in your moves. And that guy, with the exception of Deshaun Watson, who we can circle back to, just almost never becomes available whenever you already know that he could be one of those guys.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's one conversation I did take part in the other day on Twitter, and and I know it was brought to my attention by Warren Sharp, who usually has obviously some great observations, and someone else had done the research about just the fact that at this point now, every quarterback who was drafted between 2009 and 2016 has changed teams.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a selective endpoint and everything, but and part of it too is that honestly, there's only, I believe, 2 quarterbacks. I think we eliminated Nate Sudfeld, that I thought was one of them. 2 or 3 quarterbacks in that entire period that was drafted in any round that's still with the team that selected them. And, and part of it is because, you know what? If you're a team that's got one of the 6 or so guys that can win a Super Bowl every year, you're fine. And if you don't have one of those quarterbacks, and on top of that, you don't have anybody in your organization that knows what they're doing, you're going to be selecting a quarterback every single year. At some point in the draft, they're all going to fail because you dropped them into a failed system, and the cycle is going to repeat.
The crazy thing about it is you're right. If you do not have one of those, I can make an argument that the number is 2 or 3 guys. I can make the argument that the number is 6 or 7 guys, but it's not more than that. If you have one of those guys, though, one of those elite guys, then you build around them. If you don't have one of those guys, like you're saying, that is literally your job, is to find one. Like, and however long that takes, whatever your strategy is, we can have arguments about that, but you need to find one of those guys, which is what makes the Deshaun Watson story still genuinely interesting to me at this point, because they have alienated one of those guys to an extreme extent. That relationship seems extremely broken, but they're not totally willing to just publicly say that they're open for business, being the Texans, that is. I just think that part of it is fascinating to me. The thing that we talked about some last week that's especially Chiefs relevant is the idea that he was intrigued by the Broncos. The Broncos would be foolish not to try everything they can to get him, in my opinion. And then also there was a report from John McClain that is not going to happen, presumably from the Texans' perspective. What have you made of the idea of Deshaun Watson in Denver?
You're right. It would be, I think, a fantastic fit. I mean, the Broncos are in a little bit of state of flux to a degree. I'm not sure which direction they really are going because they're, still, being led a little bit by their defense. Yet the defense is also getting old and in a transition phase of itself. But I mean, you know what? Deshaun Watson anywhere makes him a contender immediately. I mean, and as long as the organization is not completely dysfunctional, and the Broncos are a little dysfunctional, but nothing like Houston.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that would be to me, that would be a problem, especially if you put him in the AFC West with, you think Justin Herbert looks like could be one of those 6 or 7 guys in the future. That could really, upset the apple cart in the AFC West and really make things a little bit harder for the Chiefs. But, yeah, I'm with you. If I'm the Broncos, I'd start with 5 first-rounders and see what happens. I mean, go get it. I mean, because you're not going to get anybody better than Deshaun Watson, more than likely, at any point in the next 5 drafts. So go for it.
Yeah, because, maybe 2 other teams have done that in the last, let's say, 5 years. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about how difficult that is and how at this point, I also just don't think that it's possible, really, for the Texans to get value on Deshaun Watson because his value is more than teams are going to be literally allowed to trade, or that eventually that they're going to say, you know what, we're not going to give up more than 4 or 5 firsts and a defensive player. When in reality, that exchange is still going to absolutely favor the team that gets Deshaun Watson. Do you have a feeling at this point as of tonight what your best guess would be in terms of what the Texans end up doing with Watson?
I don't think anybody has a good guess because, honestly, I have no idea who's running the show.
Yeah, fair.
And if they have a clue. I'm pretty sure that whoever is running the show doesn't have a clue, because right now nobody in that entire organization seems like they have a clue.
Yeah.
But if they're dead set against trading Deshaun Watson, my inclination, what it certainly seems to be the case, is that Deshaun Watson is dead set against ever playing another down for those guys.
Yeah.
So something's got to give, and usually it's the team that's got to. And this is the crazy thing, is that as good as Deshaun Watson is, there's absolutely people around the league who will say, well, you know what, if he was one of those guys, if he was Patrick Mahomes, if he was Tom Brady, if he was Ben Roethlisberger, he would have overcome that this year and won with that team. No. You know what? I mean, sometimes great quarterbacks just absolutely get trapped in horrible situations. And that was an absolute abysmal situation in Houston right now. I mean, they're trying to build it. If they don't have Deshaun Watson, that team's going to win 0 games at some point in the near future. I mean, they're just working too hard at it to not do that.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. The only logic that I can, and logic is a pretty big word here, but the only thing that I think even like semi makes sense is the idea that they're just trying to have an organization that's just full of people that Jack Easterby likes. Like, that's the only, because there's not a clear strategy. It's not even like they're selling high on a bunch of players and they're going to have like the entire first round of the draft in 2 or 3 years. Like, right now they have no picks. They've traded guys. They've bought high and sold low on guys like Laramie Tunsil and Deshaun and DeAndre Hopkins, respectively. It's just, at the very least, I appreciate them for the endless hours of sports talk radio they've given us, because it is truly an anomaly in a sport that has pretty much seen it all. This one's unique still. It's incredible. I don't know.
If we did not have teams around the NFL hiring idiots at various positions in the organizations, and we didn't have them saying stupid things, Kansas City football would be very, very boring right now, because there's nothing. I mean, Kansas City's, clockwork. I mean, there's nothing going on. I mean, absolutely, it's just the organizations run too well. And once again, I mean, this is another thing I'll just remind people about how lucky you are to have Andy Reid, is that, you can't be a successful coach, even a GM in this league, without having a healthy ego. But Houston proves that you got to have an ego that you got to be able to check too.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to have your ego challenged. Because Andy Reid's not afraid to hire people who disagree with him. He's not afraid to hire people who are smart around him. Look at what Jack Easterby's doing. He's trying to find a bunch of pinheads around him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want anybody to challenge his authority or his intellect. And apparently he has, no power and no intellect. So
yeah, it's
hard to find those people.
Yeah. I mean, listen, or he could just stop looking in front offices and start looking in sports radio. We've got plenty of them.
Maybe they're probably going to give me a call next.
Right. I think Beards right now has a supercut of all of us doing Chewbacca noises. If that is my resume to be a pinhead underling for Jack Easterby, I mean, I guess an audio resume makes a lot of sense in radio. I needed to get some front office work in Houston, I guess. The one Chiefs thing that nothing has necessarily obviously changed within the last week, but something that I keep going back to that I'm trying to figure out at this point is the offensive line is going to be the story of the offseason, because it's the last thing that we saw, and it was a nightmare in the Super Bowl. That obviously makes sense. Within the actual way that the Chiefs are going to attack it, I feel like there are a lot of possible outcomes. But it almost all is going to hinge on what they're currently planning in terms of the tackles in the front office right now. I don't know if Mitchell Schwartz knows if he's going to play again. I don't know if the Chiefs know. I don't know if you have a hunch in that regard. And then also what the status of Eric Fisher is going to be. He tore his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. That's not a quick turnaround. It's not an easy injury for anyone, especially an offensive lineman. And the Chiefs' strategy up through this point over the last couple of years has been, hey, we're gonna invest in our tackles. We're gonna let them do the heavy lifting, and then we'll just have some rotating pieces largely through the interior. I mean, even though they paid LDT, he was a late round pick. Austin Ryder, just kind of a dude. Andrew Wiley, just kind of a dude. And that's been predominantly, as far as I've seen, that's been the strategy. But if they don't have, schematically speaking, tackles they can trust that way, we saw the offensive line crumble in that regard. Do you think that that's that's a fair assessment of what they've done across the offensive line over the last couple of years. And do you have any feel for what they're going to try to figure out, what they might know right now about Fisher and Schwartz?
Yeah, I mean, it is, I think, a pretty fair assessment. And that, you can certainly say, hey, they paid their left tackle and their right tackle, kept them around. They were willing to have one of the higher paid left tackles in the league, one of the highest paid right tackles around, and then, filled in with guys who fit their system who were affordable. I mean, they've let guys walk. I mean, they let Rodney Hudson, they've let Zach Fultons. I mean, they've let guys walk in the interior and have gone with, cheaper, athletic guys who can fit the scheme and do what they want to do. And now, they are at a crossroads. Now it's, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue that? Well, if you are, problem is that you got to start looking for some new tackles, because even if, let's say, Fish and Schwartz both want to play this season, they're both on the north side of 30 at this point in their careers. You never know just how much either one of them have left in the tank. I mean, at that point in their age, as good as they've been for you, you got to take that into consideration. And then when you factor in the injury issues, you're right. I don't think that anyone in the organization can say with complete 100% certainty who their starting tackles are going to be in week one. Maybe they feel good that Fisher will be ready at some point during the season. Maybe they're optimistic that Schwartz is coming back, but they don't know. So, now you've really got to figure out what you're going to do. And if that means that, do you have guys that you want to invest in? They haven't been investing draft picks. I mean, Lucas Niang is really the first high-level draft pick they've invested a while in the offensive line. They've generally have been trying to find just guys around the league. Guys who are maybe, they've been undrafted rookies. They've been, journeymen who bounced around. They've made some trades to try and fill some spots. But, if one, there are not a whole lot of left tackles around the league who aren't high-round draft picks. That's just the one position that is an absolute lock for the most part. I mean, guys don't bust at that position very often, and they don't boom either. So it's not like, you're going to find your starting left tackle in the 7th round or as undrafted free agent. So they've got to start looking at that and putting the resources in it, which is something that they haven't had to do for a while.
This might be one of those questions where the answer is I don't know, and if that's the case, that's a perfectly fine answer. You don't have to filibuster if you don't know, but you have a better feel for a lot of the salary cap stuff and some contract things than I do on some of this stuff. Do you have a feel at also, if the Chiefs released Eric Fisher based on like the numbers off over the cap, they could save about $11-12 million on the 2021 salary cap, depending on who takes his roster spot, etc. But just to cut Eric Fisher would free up about nearly $20 million in cap savings, about $3 million in dead cap. Do you have any idea, or even what the likelihood is that him being injured could potentially lead to an injury settlement rather than a more like straight up and down cut or keep restructure sort of contract maneuvering? Because I know that in some cases, if you couldn't play the next year, your injury guarantees kick in, and I don't know if that's a part of Eric Fisher's contract at all right now.
Yeah, I've seen no indication that there's any injury guarantee in the contract. Okay. So at that point, the Chiefs could absolutely walk away. The tricky thing with NFL contracts is that if a player is injured, the team's still on the hook for the recovery. Right. And that's really the gist of it. And, with an injury settlement, that's just the case of, a team saying, hey, we're going to pay you to go away. We don't want you to rehab with us anymore. We want the space. We don't want you around. Here's $50,000, $500,000, go away. Probably not going to get something like that done with an Eric Fisher because it would take too much money to make that go away. So, I mean, you're still going to be on the hook for what it is. It's hard to see him going anywhere. So, there's no indication that he's got any type of injury guarantee, so the numbers are what the numbers are. But then again, I mean, are the Chiefs in a spot where they want to walk away, or is this something where both the player wants to stay, the team wants him around, but knows that they're not going to get value in 21, and you're able to try and work out something to keep him around for 22? That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it's so strange to have all of the conversations we're having about the offensive line, and then to also look at maybe at least the 3 highest paid offensive linemen going in the next year, and to have questions about all 3 of them. Like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is obviously 3rd behind Fisher and Schwartz. where the way his contract ended up getting bumped around with the opt-out and everything, I don't think he's movable this year, even if they wanted to. But, like, I just don't know what LDT off a year of not playing football would look like. In some cases, I could probably see an argument that actually his body feels great because he wasn't a professional football player last year. But also, I don't know if he's helping take care of people with COVID and he comes back just as jacked as he was when he left. I just have no idea what to even speculate there. And then you start seeing a battered offensive line losing the pieces that we would have at least been penciling in, even just a couple of weeks ago, I guess a month ago now in the case of Fisher specifically. It's really interesting, man. I don't know. The carousel there is going to spin a lot, I have to imagine.
Well, and that's a crazy thing to a degree because, it was only a year ago we were talking about the fact that, hey, this offensive line, you've got most of these guys committed through 22 or at least team control over through 22. You've got some backups that you're happy with. It seems like, hey, yeah, you know what? If the Chiefs want to take a flyer on a guy like Lucas Niang and see if he can turn into a killer tackle, hey, that's great. And now you're to a point where there's almost zero position on this team that you feel like there's any certainty because guys are either injured, they're coming off of an injury, and you don't know what they've got. They're, a free agent, they're a restricted free agent. I mean, Nick Allegretti is like maybe the only offensive lineman you could point to and say, you know what, hey, he's signed, he's healthy, we know what we got.
Yeah.
Outside of that, everyone has some questions. I mean, especially LDT and Lucas Niang being a year away from football. I don't know what they are.
Yeah. The crazy thing, you say that about Allegretti, you're totally right. He's under control and he's healthy. I also have no idea if he'll be a starter next year or not. Because I can very clearly say, let's say Osemele and Wiley don't have great offers anywhere else. If they both come back, maybe they both start. Or if it's Osemele and LDT, or if it's Wiley and LDT, or whatever. Like, it's pretty easy to find Allegretti, the only guy that's a sure thing, to find him being your swing guard again. It's just, that's wild. Here's to your point about how there may only be one position on this team being quarterback that you are 100% sure what it's going to look like next year. And maybe they, cut Chad Henne's extra $1 million off the cap. But with that being said, obviously it's the most important position, and it is certain in a very, very good way. But I'm wondering if we'll look back on this time at all and say, oh, we should have actually seen some maybe early season hiccups coming or some amount of regression coming. I'm not predicting it in any way at this point, but I'm already kind of preemptively wondering if we should be talking about how maybe the Chiefs aren't automatically going to go 14-2 next year, or how there may be some pains that we haven't seen in the last year at least because there is so much uncertainty right now. Do you find yourself being more confident that things are going to get worked out, or more curious about maybe some potential slippery footing?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because, there's a difference between, how teams seem to bounce back after winning a Super Bowl versus losing a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a lot of regression amongst teams that lose a Super Bowl. Super Bowl winners, it seems like even like the Chiefs, they don't always necessarily make it back to the Super Bowl, but they're usually playoff teams, division champs, good seasons. I mean, even if they don't get all the breaks that go their way with injuries and maybe keep them from making a run, they still seem to be around. There's a wide variance with Super Bowl losers. And, and some of that's because, there's not a whole lot of teams that lose a Super Bowl and sit back and say, okay, well, everything's great. Let's not change anything. We're just close. They make a lot of changes. They do things. And maybe all those changes are for the better. And that's why I think it's going to be important to the Chiefs, during this time that they're calculating and seeing what changes they do need to make and want to make, because I think it's really easy to overreact and maybe make a lot of changes that you don't need to. But I think you're right. I mean, a year from now, we could certainly be looking back and saying that, this is a team that went 10-6, maybe they missed the playoffs at 9-7 because they got some injuries. And we say, well, yeah, Mahomes had a really good season, but, just the guys around him let him down, or maybe the defense wasn't as good, or the run game didn't develop because the line wasn't there. I mean, You're right. I think that there's definitely things you could look back and a year from now and say, okay, well, you know what? We should have known in February 21 that this was going to be a problem that they couldn't overcome. And you know what? Offensive line could very well be that area.
Because as of right now, we have exactly one, maybe two examples of the Chiefs in their worst case scenario. It's the Super Bowl, and then maybe it's that Colts game where everybody was hurt, including Mahomes. But other, like, outside of that, obviously, it's even the worst games include something heroic working from Patrick Mahomes. And I know this is probably just a real big bummer at the end of February for a bunch of people who don't want to really have this particular conversation. I totally get it. But if I was gonna say, like you said, let's say, you know, they go into next season and Lucas Niang and a rookie are your starting tackles, and maybe they bring back Mike Rimmers in there. But they're your tackles, and they just never end up totally solidifying by the end of the year. And Travis Kelce gets hurt for the first time since his rookie season. And the defense regresses a little bit. All of the places are, wow, they really made the most out of some limited talent there. Maybe those places start looking a little less talented. I think Andy Reid plus Patrick Mahomes means playoffs automatically. I think they'll win the AFC West for the next bajillion years, even if Justin Herbert takes a step forward or whatever. But even if Herbert and the Chargers keep developing, even if the Broncos end up with Deshaun Watson, which I don't think we should expect, but even if that happens, the main thing that does is it makes the number one seed way more difficult, and it provides you all of those opportunities to have kind of those little slip-ups. I don't know. I'm not here to be a soothsayer on it, but it's something that it feels like that is a more probable outcome than I would have been considering, again, even really just kind of pre-Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think about it from another perspective, too, which is that, you know, one thing that the Chiefs don't want to get into with the quarterback that they have is that even though he can do everything, is making him do everything.
Yeah.
Because that's what wears the quarterback down.
Yep.
And not just, you know, from forcing them to retire early like an Andrew Luck, but can just, you know, grade on them and just, you know, and make it more difficult to slog through seasons. I mean, you know, that's probably, you know, hey, one testament to the Belichick system is that to a degree, I mean, Belichick always seemed to find ways to take a little bit of the pressure off of Brady so that even though he could do everything, he didn't have to do it all. You know, you take a look at what Peyton Manning. I mean, Peyton Manning had to do it all.
Yep.
And throughout his career, and it did last a long time, but he took a punishment for it and missed some seasons because of it. I mean, and I think we're even starting to see a little bit, you know, the last couple of seasons. I think you've seen the signs that, you know, Mahomes trying to do everything is going to take a toll.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just think that, you know, with what you have in him, that kind of talent, that you want to risk that. I mean, that's why I think the Chiefs are always going to try to find a way to put things around him. They've given him plenty of weapons. Now what they probably need to do is find out how to protect him better.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of a downer kind of dismount that I didn't really necessarily mean to get to, but the good news is
let's bring on the Wookiees.
We have a pick-me-up. Let's bring on the Wookiees. So you're gonna hear 5 different Wookiee calls.
We're gonna start with Nick Schwerdt, just for a refresher.
Yep. So we'll have the 3 of us. We'll have Nick Schwerdt, and then we will have another special guest who I will make clear at the time. Beards, you're gonna have to turn off your microphone when you play that. Otherwise, the audio is just gonna be unhearable. Not an exaggeration. It's how loud. It's how loud that fan is. It's just really.
That's what that fan was. Okay.
Yes, it's not just static. It is the fan. Let's start with Nick Schwerdt's Wookiee call, and then Matt, if you can power rank these, it'd be great. If you can at least just pick a winner with that in mind, I'll accept that. But power ranking would be great. Here's Nick.
All right.
So that one's challenging.
Wait a minute, you weren't joking. I thought you were joking. That was actually supposed to be a Wookiee?
Yeah, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
It's like a ghost Wookiee, like a Wookiee died.
Wow. So there's Nick's. Okay. Next, let's go. You gonna go Beards? You wanna do yours here, Beards? Go ahead and that one again.
Beards, have you seen Star Wars, Beards?
Listen, it was not my finest effort.
Okay. A for effort, I think. I'll give you A for effort.
Tell you what, Beards, if you pull up an actual porg sound effect from Star Wars, it sounds much more like that.
I think we made that joke when I did that.
I mean, I'm just telling you, it's not even a joke. It just sounds kind of like a porg.
I think you did better than me, Beards.
If this is the best porg, I wouldn't even hear the other three. I just give the trophy to Beards right now.
Let's go ahead and do number 3. Let's do mine here, Beards. Let's do my Wookiee call. One more. How'd I do?
It's kind of Homer Simpson doing a Wookiee.
I didn't think about that. Was pretty good.
One more time there, Beards.
Yeah, that's pretty. There's definitely some Homer Simpson in there.
Yeah, that's like Dan Castellaneta doing a Wookiee.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Rudy sounded like at all. So
I can't imagine it was good.
I can't either.
Yeah, it was just a scream.
It's just
a
scream. A quiet indoor.
And then you go, I don't know at the end.
It's an indoor scream.
I don't know.
It's not.
That's Star Wars Holiday Special Caliber.
Yeah, for sure.
He could have been lumpy.
I'm good. I'll take that.
And now here's our fifth one for your consideration and what prompted the whole thing. Here's Kansas football coach Les Miles.
Wow. Okay, was Les Miles trying to do a Wookiee?
Yes. This is what prompted the whole thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys all lost. Les Miles won. I hate to say it because
he had the benefit of being on remote radio equipment though, where he got that fried. You hit it again, Beards. Hit Les Miles again.
I think I was trying to imitate Les Miles doing it.
Maybe.
I just didn't get there.
Yeah. I gotta go Les Miles number 1.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know, Josh.
He's an actor though.
Josh gets number 2. I mean,
that's great.
There's a gap. There's a gap.
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
2. Boy, I think I'm gonna have to go Rudy 3.
Oh wow!
It's close. I mean,
wow! I thought Beards was gonna be 3.
Really? Rudy's coming in 3.
Wow! I'll take it. I'm excited, but I'm surprised.
And I'm only going to do this. I'm only going to go Schwartz 4 and Beards 5, so I can then say that if this was a porg contest, it would be the exact opposite order.
Yeah, just completely reversed. Yeah,
that's fair.
Best porg, it would be the same order, just upside down.
Now, Matt, the obvious conclusion of this segment, I'm going to go ahead and let you just sort of warm up the pipes and decide if you've got a Wookiee, if you got a Wookiee call in you. Here's what I'm going to say leading up to that. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. You can check out his book, At Last, The Kansas City Chiefs' Unforgettable 2019 Championship Season, forward by Kevin Harlan at triumphbooks.com/ChiefsWin. You can read all of his work on ChiefsDigest.com, and his Wookiee impression sounds like this. I think that's the best one. It's not good, but I think it's the best one. Best of a bad batch.
It sounds the most animal-like.
Definitely sounds the least like a person doing an animal impression.
Yes.
Matt, thank you as always. That was magical. Thank you for having a sixth entrance now into the Wookiee sound effects section of the Almost Entirely Sports folder.
Just remember that on Talk Like a Pirate Day when I phone it in again.
That's just fine. Thank you, Matt.
Take care, guys.
Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, buy At Last, buy his book. He did a Wookiee impression on the radio show. The least you can go do is buy his book.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's former Jayhawk Greg Gurley. Kansas fans and alumni are in every city and state we play. If your favorite Jayhawk fans are missing home, send them some Joe's KC Barbecue. Nothing beats home court and championship barbecue on game day. Joe's will ship anywhere in the U.S., it's easy to reheat, and it tastes just as good at home as it does at Joe's. You can ship all of Joe's favorites, like ribs, brisket, burn ends, and even the famous Z-Man. Ordering is easy, and it's just a few clicks away at joeskc.com.
Prime Lending's mortgage professionals are ready to assist you with your next home loan or refinance of your current residence. Prime Lending has 10 convenient locations to serve you. Visit whyprimelendingkc.com That's WHYPrimeLendingKC.com or call 816-600-4561. Prime Lending ranked #1 mortgage lender in the Kansas City, Missouri metro area market per Market Track January 2019 to October 2020. All loans subject to credit approval, rates and fees subject to change. Prime Lending, a Plains Capital Company, NMLS 13649, is an equal housing lender.
Every weekday on Sports Radio 810, tune in to hear Kansas City's favorite local lineup. At 6 a.m., wake up with the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty. At 10, it's The Zone with Jason Anderson. Now at 2, get into the program with Soren Petro. And wrap up your day on Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco. Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey sports fans, the new 810 Fan Shop has all the gear you need to rep your favorite teams. Check out our new collegiate line and get ready for spring baseball and St. Patty's Day now at 810whb.com/shop. You can choose from a variety of t-shirt designs and styles, premium hoodies or crew necks, and even snag something for your little KC sports fan with our new youth sizes. Looking for a baby shower gift for the MVP on your list? Check out our infant t-shirts and onesies. It's all at the 810 Fan Shop. Check it out today online at 810whb.com/shop.
Switch to T-Mobile for Business and get up to 90 days of service free via virtual rebate on your business plan. You get a great deal, the largest 5G network, and first-class benefits like Microsoft 365 on us. It's better for business and only with T-Mobile for Business. Limited time offer. Stop in-store for details. Plus taxes and fees for some plans. Virtual Express MasterCard within 8 weeks of receipt of valid submission. Complete port within 60 days. See T-Mobile.com for 5G devices, coverage, and plan details.
When you want Chiefs, follow the leader. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The mindset that Chiefs fans are going to get to is that every year you're going to have a chance with Patrick Mahomes.
What do you do with Eric Fisher? When you're talking about bad injuries for offensive linemen, you talk about the back first. In my mind, you talk about the back first, and then you talk about Achilles as second.
Sports Radio 810 WHB. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Chewy, we're home.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll talk to the aforementioned Nick Schwerdt of KLWN, Rock Chalk Sports Talk, weekdays on KLWN in Lawrence. We'll talk to him here in about 20 minutes from now. We'll do some KU. I'll ask him about, we can ask him about maybe Matt's Wookiee call, really just full Ouroboros, just asking guests about our future or past guests, and eventually we don't even really have a radio show anymore. It's a perpetual motion machine of radio. But I want to take, and we also are going to do, we're going to talk about the Ringers bracket after we have Nick on. I'm telling.
Oh, is that when we're doing
That's
it?
what we're going to do it.
Okay.
Because I want to have some time to spread our wings.
Yeah.
We went really long with Matt there. Here's what I want to do just now. I want to say that it's late. It's a safe space. Go ahead, Beards. What are you pointing at?
Very quickly.
Go ahead.
Since we went long with Matt, do you want me to just make this 2 segments?
Maybe.
Okay.
How many more breaks do we have,
Just 2.
minutes-wise, this hour?
I added some, so let me 6. 5.
4.
5.
3.
5.
2.
2.
5.
1.
5.
Here's my take. We can take a break. This won't take too long. We'll do a couple different things here. But I want to sink in just a little bit. This is I'm getting real close to the microphone, and we're going to whisper about these things because these are not exciting, optimistic points. And again, this is not me being a soothsayer. I'm not predicting all of these things, but it's just something that I got to thinking about a little bit earlier today, and I just want to say it out loud now so we at least all have, we've all talked about it, Better to put it out there. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. That's probably not true, but it's a saying I've heard. I just want to say this again and kind of kick it out here. Rudy is
I thought I heard something.
glancing around. Is there an intruder? Is someone
I was
breaking
playing.
into?
I was playing something out of the queue.
Oh,
back
okay.
there.
The way it sounded like there was a child around me. I was like, "What is this noise?"
Yeah, I was playing something out of the queue.
Were you playing
It was just
audio
so
of a
loud.
child?
Kind of.
Huh.
It was the thing that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
I think you have to acknowledge what it is, Beards, because it's only gotten weirder so far.
Do I?
We'll play that next segment.
Okay.
There's our pet. Well, if you're hanging on the mystery of it, we'll play it next segment. But here's the thing I'm thinking about. The way Matt phrased it, I think, is probably the best way to keep it in mind. But the Chiefs may only, as of right now, really have one position group, the most important position group, and two if you want to count coaching staffs. They might only really have like one full position that you feel really, really excellent about going in the next year at this point.
Long snapper.
And it's James Winchester.
Yeah, he did have apparently a weird rotation on a couple snaps.
That's true. Boy, I'm going to have to move on from him also. And it's not really just because, like, tight end
Running
is
back.
tight end running back. Yeah,
You drafted a guy in the first round. You're set.
you're set for life. Like, tight end is obviously fine. It would be great if the Chiefs wanted to add a second tight end, but if the tight end position doesn't change from last year to next year, obviously fine because Travis Kelce's on top of the pile there. But it is. It's easier right from this point where we're standing right now for me to build out a horrible, horrible future where the Chiefs go like 10-6, which is a funny, horrible future just because like we've been Chiefs fans for long enough to remember when 10-6 was an achievement. But I don't think, other than just saying, let's say Mahomes stays healthy and the Chiefs still go 10-6. How does that happen? I have an easier time reverse engineering that reality than I wanted to be able to have. And I certainly have an easier time doing it right now than I did at this time last year. It's like, let's say Frank Clark has another, disappointing regular season. And let's say Chris Jones is good, but he's not second to Aaron Donald. He's just a good interior defensive player. Let's say they don't get any other production across the defensive line that would surprise you. Everyone just kind of plays to their level. All right, let's say Tyrann Mathieu, maybe he looks a quarter step slower than he did last year, or even he's just Tyrann Mathieu, and that's all. He's fine. But the corners being Travarius Ward, L'Jarius Sneed, and then maybe they're betting on DeAndre Baker or Rashad Fenton. Maybe they don't bring back Bashad Breeland. Let's say he gets priced out. Let's say you get a little bit of that second-year toe stubbing from L'Jarius Sneed, and he's not quite as good as he looked in the second half of this year since he came back from his collarbone injury. Let's say Travarius Ward stays a little shaky and that Rashad Fenton, maybe he's just good in the slot again, but Sneed has some more challenges whenever he moves back outside. All right, what if Juan Thornhill isn't actually 100% back at full speed in the regular season? Maybe he regresses a little bit. Willie Gay never figures it out. Anthony Hitchens is just Anthony Hitchens. That's not a total apocalyptic situation. I have taken the best players in the defense and essentially pulled their sliders down a little bit, so it's not great. But I could see the defense having that kind of regression. I could see the offensive line without Mitch Schwartz and Eric Fisher having a really hard time playing the version of that scheme they want to play because they can no longer put their tackles on an island. I think it's possible that they don't have a number 2 receiver that is contributing on the level you'd like to see. I'm saying a number 2 wide receiver, right? That's even if nobody else gets hurt. Or maybe it's just, a couple injuries, but none of the main guys. Maybe you get a little regression here or there, but, maybe Chris Jones plays like a Pro Bowler again. I'm not telling you they can go 5-11 as long as Patrick Mahomes is on the field, because they can't. Having Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I still think is going to mean that they're going to win the AFC West. And I'm not being a soothsayer. I'm really not trying to find the negative or whatever. It's not the way that I even enjoy talking about stuff like this. But there's just enough up in the air right now that I think it's worth saying out loud that there's a chance that it falls somewhere we don't want it to. I think the Chiefs are the clear-cut favorites in the AFC again. Please, social media manager for the Chiefs, do not cut this clip to play next February when the Chiefs are back from the Super Bowl for the third consecutive time. If I had to bet on it, I would bet on the Chiefs to be the AFC representative, and I'll just say that I bet on them to win against whoever they play. Totally cool with that. But they're just more sort of Doctor Strange looking at a bunch of different outcomes. There are more of the less ideal outcomes than there have been in years past, than there were at this time last year. And it just makes me a little unsettled. I don't know. Do I sound like I am like I'm somehow farming for clicks, even though this is not a clickable medium? Do I sound like I'm do I sound like a negative Nancy? Do I sound like a real big downer right now?
Always. Oh, you mean right now?
Specifically in this segment more than usual?
Always.
Does that, and also, I guess, does that seem like a reasonable thing to bring up right now, or am I just bloviating for no good reason? Which also, always. I'm open to feedback on this issue.
No, I think it's fair because I think the reality is, like, part of our job is obviously, like, look at the Chiefs in a more, in theory, unbiased way, right? Like we admit we're Chiefs fans, but it's the ability to look past that. And I think the acknowledgement is that while this team is, because of Patrick Mahomes, this team is really good and they're going to be contenders for a long time. If the Chiefs aren't careful, you run into the Aaron Rodgers problem.
Yeah.
And like, and the reason why these are problems that we talk about, and the reason why these are problems that, and hopefully the Chiefs are talking about and looking to address, is because the last thing you want is 10 years go by and Patrick Mahomes hasn't been in any more Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Now, it seems unlikely for that to happen. He's been in 2 of 3 as a starter, and he's been in the AFC Championship game every year as a starter.
Great.
It seems like the AFC Championship game is pretty much a lock at this point. But the reality is, like, if they're not careful, like, that's how you end up in the Aaron Rodgers scenario.
Yeah, and I think that's the mindset that I'm in right now, is trying to think a step. I don't want to be surprised if they don't address some major positions and it ends up coming back and biting them.
You can't address everything, right?
Sure,
in one offseason, not everything can be addressed.
But you can't acknowledge the fact that, like, in the situation of the Packers, you've seen their quarterback be left behind in a lot of ways by the organization that did not set up
address
the right
things over 5 years.
Right. If they would have had this conversation and then had a plan about how to address it, then maybe they would have ended up in a better place. That's where I'm coming from at the very least. Something worth, I don't know, keeping a light eye on. I don't know. We'll talk about something else whenever we come back.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
Now that football season is over, spring training is right around the corner. Even if it doesn't start on time, you have no excuse not to start your own spring training. You can get yourself back into game shape by spring, since it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet's program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. Then, NJ Diet uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet and workout regimen to help you keep it off. Don't want to do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way. You will be fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you are burning fat and not just losing water. You'll also get the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet offers live online video consultations, or they have a location close by the Lighton Tower right here in Overland Park. Call 855-5-NJ-DIET or go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good. That's njdiet.com.
At Central Bank of the Midwest, we are focused on building strong communities across Kansas City. I'm Bill Ferguson, President and CEO. Our strong roots began more than 100 years ago in the heart of the Midwest and continue today across 5 states and 67 communities. Central Bank of the Midwest brings you the best of both worlds, a strong community bank with the resources and technology to deliver a legendary banking experience. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Since 1929, couples have been coming to Shane Company to get their dream engagement rings and wedding bands. When my grandfather founded the company, he pioneered a unique way of doing business, directly sourcing our stones around the world in person. We hand-select the prettiest stones from ethical sources worldwide. This allows us to cut out all middlemen and their markups and pass those savings on to you. Unlike other jewelers, we pay cash up front. That's why we get first pick of their best stones and the best prices. Shane Company has grown to become Kansas City's favorite family jeweler. Because of our direct sourcing, you'll always get the best value and the most beautiful natural diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business, Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hey, Kansas City, winter is here, and without proper attic insulation, you'll be losing money every time your furnace turns on. Star Company's installation is here to help you save money. Adding insulation to your attic will make your home comfortable, allow your furnace to run less, and save you money every minute of the day. And Star Company's gives you a 10-year warranty that others won't. Call Star Company's today for a free quote and ask about all the ways they can help you save money this winter. 816-353-2160. Again, that number, 816-353-2160.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I don't want to just come out and be like, oh, yeah, I'm a big, dumb sports idiot radio host, blah, blah.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, here's the topic with the kid audio that we teased, so we need to actually play the audio, I guess. I really don't care to talk about the Cam Newton thing. He had a camp. Some high schooler was reminding him over and over that he's a free agent and that he sucks now. And Cam kept responding with the fact that he is very rich and the kid said he's going to become poor soon. And that's simply not true. Cam Newton is never going to be broke. That dude's got money at this point. That's fun. It was just sort of a trash talking back and forth. At one point, Cam asked to talk to this kid's dad, which was a pretty funny move. But it's fine. Beards, we don't have to. You can just kill the music. It's fine. We have to play the audio now, right? That's all right.
Okay.
Listen, Beards. For somebody who has such
When have you ever cared about a sports center?
It's so strange.
You can't even be like, even when we get out on time, the amount of times that you just like do the math wrong because you don't care enough, Beards.
It's fine. If we have a reason to skip the sports center, it's okay. We can just hit it when it's convenient. I really don't particularly care about this Cam Newton story. I don't think it's really a story.
This is the story you've been pushing, Beards.
This kid ended up putting out a Notes app apology on Twitter and tagged like ESPN and Barstool.
Nobody should have to apologize.
This kid was being disrespectful in a sort of funny way to a former NFL MVP and a Heisman winner, and that's whatever. And then a bunch of adults bullied this kid on Twitter until he apologized, which I'm not really sure what lesson this taught. Anyway, here's the exclusive audio.
Hey Cam, thanks a lot for coming to my school today.
No problem, Nate.
I promise to exercise and eat right.
Don't forget 60 minutes of play a day, right?
And I'll grow up to be big and strong like you.
Absolutely.
And play in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
And be drafted #1.
Maybe.
Become the starting quarterback of the Panthers.
Okay.
You can be my backup.
Excuse me?
And make Panthers fans forget about you. And become your mom's favorite player.
Whoa.
I'm just loosening my arm.
It's a really... So
one of the better commercials.
Yeah, should I explain the joke for people who might not understand it? All right, I'll explain the joke.
You have a minute to do it.
That's fine.
So good.
The actual audio we're not playing. I think it's fine. I think the kid says ass a couple of times, which we can say on the radio at 9 p.m. It's okay. But it's also the audio quality is not that great and it's not that funny. What is funny is that NFL Play 60 commercial from a few years ago, where that little kid says that he's going to become Cam Newton's mom's new favorite player and make Panthers fans forget about him.
Which they already have.
I don't think that's true if you've seen some of the quarterbacks who have played for them recently. If
Teddy
they trade for
Two Gloves?
Deshaun, I'm not gonna. You and your stupid nicknames for very average NFL players. I'm just not that interested. If they trade for Deshaun Watson, maybe that kid. Wow, you know what? You heard the audio, right? The audio there.
Is that young
kid,
Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun Watson. That's a young Deshaun Watson in that audio.
That little kid got a tan.
And also a lot taller and older very quickly.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, this is Stephen St. John, and I've been listening to how great Nate feels after going to Stretch Zone, so I had to try it out myself, and I feel fantastic. And my wife, Susan, she's had 2 years of daily back pain, which is already feeling better after a few sessions. Stretch Zone will help you relieve stiffness and soreness, increase and maintain range of motions, and enhance physical skills. Stretch Zone is located in Lenexa and Overland Park. For more information, check out StretchZone.com.
With spring approaching, it brings new sounds. Birds chirping and dripping icicles. KC will be in full bloom soon. What better time to get outdoors? Your hometown friends at Bushnell are here, and we want you to enjoy this time of year and share your passion for the outdoors. Camping, target shooting, hunting, or heading out to the ballpark. Bushnell has what you need to get outside and enjoy the spring season. Visit the Bushnell Factory Outlet or check out bushnell.com to see the latest assortment in binoculars, rifle scopes, rangefinders, and more.
For the latest on the Kansas City Royals, keep it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
First of all, Skip, how did it feel to be out there with part of your team today in the sun?
Well, the sun feels really good, not to rub it in. When we walked onto the field that last part of the season, they saw good things happening. And then the organization really does an amazing job bringing in some pieces that are going to help us take that next step.
Kansas City's home for Major League Baseball. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
WHB Kansas City.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Jim Basquall. Good one on ESPN. You can also stream it on the ESPN app, where 18th ranked Texas Tech is up a point at the half at Oklahoma State, 37-36. The Cowboys, Cade Cunningham leading the way for them with 13 points. Earlier, Duke ran their winning streak to 4 straight.
Over to Stewart, angle left 3, off the rim. No, dunk follow with the right hand of Mark Williams. Oh, my goodness.
Sean Kelly, ESPN Radio. Mark Williams, a double-double of 18 points, 11 rebounds. Blue Devils, 85-71 over Syracuse. They are 4-0 since Jalen Johnson's opt-out. NBA, the Mavs all over the Grizzlies, playing the third at 69-53. Tim Hardaway Jr. has 20, while the Suns have opened up a 61-52 lead late first half on the Blazers. Devin Booker already has 20. Kevin Durant still nursing that hamstring injury, out for a 5th straight game Tuesday, with the Nets back home after sweeping a 5-game West Coast trip, the Final Four, without KD. How about Isaiah Wilson, 2020 first-round pick of the Titans, tweeting, "I'm done with football as a Titan. No further comments." GM John Robinson recently said the team has no intention of getting rid of the thus far underachieving offensive tackle right now. That may soon change. NHL on ESPN+. The Avs and Golden Knights second period getting underway, scoreless thus far. Earlier, the Lightning double up the Hurricanes 4-2. They had dropped the first 2 to Carolina, being shut out.
Tuesday with Greeny, the question of the day is a fascinating one, and that is this. As a fan, do you miss the fans when you watch sports? Go in search of that answer and more. Tuesday, Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
When do you think about your insurance? Chances are it's when you're paying your bill or filing a claim. At Briar Payne Mead, we always think about your insurance. It's what we do. Buying a car, having a baby, building a home, starting a business. Then it's time to call BPM at 913-681-099 or visit us on the web at bpminsurance.com. Great service and extremely competitive rates from the top-rated companies. Briar Payne Mead, 913-681-099. That's 913-681-099.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports
So that explains why there's been an awkward pause after everything I say.
with Joshua Brisco
I thought you were just not impressed with my responses to your question.
on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I think we might have to talk to Nick about the Arby's sandwich. Rudy and I were just discussing it during the break, and Nick Schwerdt of Rock Chalk Sports Talk on KLWN weekdays 3 to 6 in Lawrence is joining us now. You can follow him on Twitter at Nick_Schwerdt. We're talking about the Arby's Meat Mountain, and I've talked about it multiple times. We talked about it on Sports Sunday yesterday morning. Rudy and I have now discussed it, and I have sort of a greasy, sloppy appreciation for Arby's. Rudy, what do you, can you share whatever it is that's on your screen right now?
Oh, so I'm looking at the sandwich, and
okay, very good.
And honestly, all I could think about is I could see Beards buying this sandwich and just removing everything but the chicken strips.
I think that seems possible.
I don't know why I thought that, but I just thought that, and I just.
Well, because it seems like a way that a pervert would eat the sandwich. This is why you thought about it in regards to how Beards would eat the sandwich.
Like we would all get it here to try it once, and like that, yeah.
And then it would be our final show because we would all pass away.
Yeah. Well, not Beards because he would only eat the chicken.
But Beards would only eat the chicken,
so he'd be all right.
and he will live forever on nothing but that. Nick Schwerdt of Rock Chalk Sports Talk, do you want to eat the Arby's Meat Mountain?
Okay, so I've seen a picture of it, but can somebody run down everything that's on it?
Like Rudy is Googling right now frantically the ingredients list. There are definitely 2 chicken strips, some turkey, some roast beef, some bacon, some corned beef.
I've got it here.
I believe at least 2 types of cheese.
So it is 2 chicken tenders, slices of roast turkey, pit smoked ham, corned beef, 13-hour smoked brisket, USDA choice Angus steak, roast beef, pepper bacon, chest, and Swiss cheese somewhere in there, but it does not. It cannot tell you where. Just it's in there.
How much will one of these sandwiches set you back?
3 or 4 years off the end of your life. Just 3 or 4 years.
Financially.
I don't know. I'll buy it for you if you'll eat it. I don't know, $10.
No, I'm just saying like that's so many ingredients. I feel like that would be like a $14 sandwich, which kind of defeats the purpose of eating fast food, does it not?
I guess, but if the $14 includes you eating 14 different animal parts, like I feel like it's a decent value.
You wouldn't have to eat for like a week.
Yeah, it's like 3 meals in one.
So here's my deal with Arby's, and I'm not even going to go close to disrespecting Arby's. I have the utmost respect for that establishment. I actually had Arby's last week, and it was the first time I'd had it in, at least a year. And I loved Arby's back in high school. We would go there after school, and we would get the 5 for $5. You guys remember that?
Yeah, clutch, incredibly clutch.
Right? Yeah, they don't do that anymore. Inflation and things of that nature. But we would get the 5 for $5, and that would be fantastic. I would just get like 3 sandwiches, fries, and one of those little chocolate turnovers. You know what I'm talking about?
No, that sounds lovely, though. I bet it's good because Arby's makes good tasting
same thing,
food.
Like a cherry turnover, apple turnover. Same deal. It's like a croissant that's just filled with, whatever the other ingredient was. It was the best deal in the world, and they stopped doing it. Now, that's kind of when my Arby's loyalty went out the window, but every now and then you got to go back, where it all started. So I got Arby's last week, and I hope you guys aren't going to make fun of me for this, but when I go to Arby's now, which again is few and far between, I just get the regular roast beef sandwich, no cheese. I get regular roast beef sandwich. And I always say this specifically. You can't just say, when they ask you, do you want any sauce with that? You say, I want a ton of Arby's sauce. That's exactly how I say it. I want a ton of Arby's sauce. If you say, can I get some Arby's sauce? They'll give you 2 packets.
Yep.
Can I get several Arby's sauce? They'll give you like 4. When you say, I want a ton of Arby's sauce, they just start sort of shoveling it in the bag because that's how much I need. I put it all over the sandwich, and then I pull open the sandwich wrapper, and I make a little mountain of Arby's sauce that I use to dip the fries in.
And then whatever's
Arby's
left
sauce
straight into your hair, like on armpits, like you are embarrassed with Arby's sauce.
Yeah, exactly. You just rub a little bit in your hair. It's really good for your skin too, like a nice natural exfoliant. So, so I'm a big Arby's sauce guy. I actually think Arby's sauce is a top 3 fast food dipping sauce / condiment.
I mean, I can't find my own notepad, so I have stolen another notepad. Top 3. You want to say fast food condiments? Is that the category here?
Yeah, fast food dipping sauce. I think we just lump them together.
Here, this is extremely controversial. As someone who does very much enjoy Arby's sauces, and Beards and Rudy, please begin ranking your. Give me your Mount Rushmore of fast food sauces. Please begin working on those.
Okay, Benjamin Franklin one.
It's stupid. Here's
I can go quickly. Because I can just do this off the top of my head, and I don't think I'll mess up.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, Chick-fil-A sauce,
Yep.
obviously number 1.
It's on there.
Okay, we're not even ranking. We're just doing Mount Rushmore.
Sure.
Okay, Chick-fil-A sauce, Arby's sauce, Cane's sauce, and my 4th spot's going to be hotly contested. I think I'm going to give. This is tougher than I thought.
It gets there.
I'm going to go Sweet Heat Popeyes sauce.
Wow, interesting.
The big debate I had there for the 4th spot was Taco Bell fire sauce.
The thing is, there's the game where if you could have your 4 fingers, and we can include your thumb if you need to. They can each dispense a type of sauce. That's in your DNA now for the rest of the time. The issue there is, and I think maybe the tiebreaker in that situation goes to Taco Bell, because you can put Chick-fil-A sauce, Cane's sauce on any chicken things. You don't necessarily need the Popeyes in there. But if you go to Taco Bell, you're not going to put Arby's sauce on your burrito, probably. I don't know. Maybe you would. Might be worth a shot.
Well, what is Arby's sauce? I don't even. It's like horseradish and I don't know. I don't know. Horseradish and barbecue, maybe.
Well, so my extremely hot take might even be that Arby's sauce isn't Arby's best sauce, because the fact that they just have packets of horseradish sauce that they call horsey sauce for some reason that I assume is to protect them legally because it doesn't have actual horseradish in it or something. That is an incredibly powerful advantage in Arby's favor, but it's all good. I mean, there's not a bad sauce at Arby's. 3-pepper sauce is good as well.
Arby's sauce is kind of a mix of ketchup
I was gonna say ketchup based
and
a
steak sauce. So Worcester or Heinz 57.
It's like ketchup and A1 sauce had a baby and it made Arby's sauce.
There's some other ingredients in it, but those are the large, substance. You have vinegar, you have some brown sugar.
The only 2 I think are non-negotiables are Chick-fil-A and Arby's sauce. We can have a debate over the rest, but those 2, they are on the list, point blank, period, no questions asked.
I've now told this story twice in 2 days. Maybe I'll make it a 3-peat. I one time was with a friend of mine, and I still to this day have not remembered all the details perfectly. Partially probably because all I remember is I was in the passenger seat and was kind of mid college night of drinking. I think my friend had not yet begun to inebriate. I don't remember. Maybe we had another friend drive us. I don't remember. What I do remember specifically is that we went through the drive-thru at Arby's, and we ordered our food, and I think we may have used the magic word of we would just a ton of sauces. Arby's sauce, horsey sauce, 3-pepper sauce. If we could just get a bunch of all of those, we would really appreciate it. We went through, and they handed us our bags of food. And then they handed us another entire bag that was simply packed to the brim with packets of sauce. And I rode that wave of sauces for weeks. I ride it now as just a joyous memory that I think about whenever I get sad 3 or 4 years after the fact. It was incredible.
You know what that inspires me to do, honestly, is that so I just had a turkey sandwich just at home, quick lunch today, and
you had a quick lunch at 9 p.m. Are you okay?
No, I had leftover burrito for dinner.
Okay.
So I hit all the food pyramid. I hit all my servings between those 2 meals. I had a turkey sandwich, no condiments around, so I just ate it dry. Just turkey, cheese, wheat bread, I mean, it's turning into chalk in my mouth.
Yeah.
And what you just said, like just having a stockpile of Arby's sauce.
Oh.
Name a sandwich that Arby's sauce wouldn't be good on. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like something that should be around. Like I know you can buy the Chick-fil-A sauce in the squeeze tube. You got to be able to do that with Arby's sauce too, right?
Is Arby's selling? We're all Googling it right now, furiously. I'm not sure that Arby's is selling bulk Arby's sauce yet, but whatever.
Actually, doesn't look like that they are.
What do you mean yet? They've been around for decades. What are they
just-
waiting for?
Okay,
Well, it
here you
looks
go.
like in 2013 they did start selling bottles of Horsey and Arby's sauce. It does not appear to be in production at the moment.
But here you go. You go to eBay, and people are selling them on eBay.
Just the packets or the
you
actual
can get
bottles?
20 packs for $15.
Of
Oh no!
What is
you
that?
Can just go and do what Josh just did. You go to the drive-through. You be polite about it.
Yeah.
Hey, can I please have as much as you were willing to give me? And they're gonna do it. You know, they just will.
Hi, my name is Nick Schwerdt. You have this information. You can hold it over my head. I would like an embarrassing amount of Arby's sauce, like an amount that if you started telling other people about me asking for this much Arby's sauce, you would potentially derail my career. I want that much Arby's sauce, and they'll give it to you. You can tip them. If you say, hey, I got $10 for you right now if you'll fill up that bag with Arby's sauce, what are they going to say? No, I don't want your money? Everybody's in college. They're just give them $10 and say I want an embarrassing amount of Arby's sauce.
Hey, I'm Nick Schwerdt from the radio. You might have heard of me. You're going to give me as much Arby's sauce as possible, or you're going to hear about it coming up on Monday at 3 o'clock. Like, that's the line I give them. And, of course, it'll work because how could it not?
I found the actual products, like squeeze bottles of Arby's sauce on Amazon, but they are currently out of stock.
Wow. That's not surprising at all, actually.
I think that might work, by the way. I feel like if you just walk in with just a stack of ones, you say
please. If you just say please, that's the thing with drive-thrus is I feel like so many people, and this is food industry in general. I feel like so many people are so rude.
Yeah.
You know, when they're ordering their food, I don't know if it's rude or just not being pleasant in general.
Yeah.
But if you are that one person out of the 15 people they're going to talk to that hour who's polite, and I'm always polite to people who handle my food. I think that's just like a thing to live by. If this person is preparing your food, the least you could do is be polite and say thank you and please and yada, yada, yada. If you are doing that, more likely than not, you're going to be the nicest person they've talked to in the past hour. And if you say, can you just give me as much as you can possibly give me, they're probably going to do it for free.
Why do you think people are rude to service workers? Is that just people that is like, have they just depersonified? No, I think you're totally right. I worked at Chick-fil-A for like a year and a half in high school, and so I've been on all sides of the service worker sort of interactions. And you're totally right. There's also something very kind of like I like get out based about working at Chick-fil-A, where like you are going to be very kind and warm to the people around you.
You had to do that. You were that person. Hello. Oh, thank you so much for coming to Chick-fil-A today. What can I get you? How can I help you? How can I improve your day today with some chicken?
Oh, could I just need a refill of some lemonade? Could you do that for me? Oh yeah, absolutely. Here it is. Thank you. My pleasure. It's always.
So thank you for asking for more lemonade.
My pleasure. It has been my pleasure to serve you today, sir. Please come back again soon. And also, please don't look into any of this company's extremely problematic uses of their money once you give it to us. I am not in any way involved in how the corporate version of this company spends its money. Would you like some Chick-fil-A sauce with that? Yeah, that was sort of the experience.
By the way, Chick-fil-A Polynesian sauce, probably on the honorable mention list.
Overrated.
Go ahead and have that conversation.
I think it's overrated.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. I don't get it. People have.
I want to walk back the Taco Bell fire sauce because Taco Bell fire sauce is the only of the sauces that I named that you're going to pay for the next day in a painful way.
So
I'm actually going to switch to the Sweet Heat Popeyes sauce. Have you ever had the Sweet Heat Popeyes sauce?
I don't think I have.
It's unlike any other sauce. Oh my gosh!
I'll get it next time for sure.
I don't even know how to describe it. It is like tangy. It is sweet. It's like a spicy It's like a sweet and spicy barbecue sauce. That's the best way I could describe it. But it's sort of got this molasses, like honey, sort of texture to it. Oh, it's fantastic. You got to get it. You got to get it.
I think I'm going to go ahead and circle back on this. You gave me the chance to leave this conversation, but I'm going to go ahead and circle back to it. I think if Taco Bell fire sauce ruins your next day, I think that you should go to a doctor. It's not a Diablo pepper. It's not a ghost pepper. Like, I feel like.
Well, no, it's not just you're already dancing with fire when you're going to Taco Bell. And then on top of that, give me the spiciest sauce. Like now you're getting greedy. Now you're pushing the envelope.
That's you
already made a risk. You already, you're taking a risk going to Taco Bell. And then you're going to push your luck by asking for the hottest sauce they got. I mean, you know what you're doing at that point.
You're
playing with fire. And it's never stopped me. It's never stopped me.
There is a Taco Bell. There's a Taco Bell commercial on the screen right now in front of me right this second, and I would destroy a platter of Taco Bell if it was in front of me right now. Would not even hesitate. I'd do it on the air. I'd eat it like Cookie Monster.
And that's the other thing. It's like, okay, are you eating Taco Bell at 2 a.m. or are you eating Taco Bell before the sun goes down? Because that's the thing, man. If you're eating Taco Bell before sunset, like, you really have to take a step back and take some inventory on your life and be like, okay, like, what led me to this decision? Yeah. And I'm not judging anybody who does it because, like I said, I've probably done this within the past month. I got Taco Bell when the sun was up.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's just a weird thing to be in a Taco Bell drive-thru and it's daylight,
Yeah.
But it's a decision that you make.
You need to wait until it's dark. You need to wait till it's dark out, though, because then God can't see you. And that's the most important thing.
I think what you should do, honestly, you need to find Taco Bells that are close to gas stations. So you get your Taco Bell, and then you immediately stop at the gas station, get a bag of ice, go home, fill the bathtub with ice, eat your Taco Bell, and then whenever it's time to slip into the ice bath, you just take care of that and get on with your life.
I've not been to like a brothel, but I feel like brothels during the day and Taco Bells during the day have to have a very similar energy. Where it's like, hold on, you're not supposed to be here yet.
Yeah, we talk about strip clubs during the day, go to the lunch buffet.
Yeah.
I've heard there is a gentleman's club in Lawrence that does have like a really solid lunch buffet. And I always laughed at that, and people who had went there said, no, like they really do. And I said, okay. All right, first off, like, what's a good buffet?
Great question.
Most buffets are subpar anyway.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that the buffet at the Gentleman's Club is above average? Like, I have a hard time believing that establishment specializes in their spread.
Well, now the way that you said that is relevant. The phrasing choice might be, challenging.
Depends what kind of spread we're talking about.
If you said that the strip club's lunch buffet is like the world's best Golden Corral, I think you found the place on earth you're least likely to find me ever. A buffet's not.
You don't like buffets?
I don't. I'm not exactly enticed by them. I don't. It's just, especially right now. I'm not like a full blown like germaphobe. But I can't help but think about the germs on like a normal buffet at like a food establishment. Like I feel like it's only going to be more second guessed in that environment.
I don't disagree with that. I will say the only buffets I've went to where it was like, okay, this is actually pretty awesome, were all in Vegas. In Vegas, I guess that makes more sense. You've got more resources and you have 50 people in your kitchen staff, but generally speaking, there's a bit by some comedian, and I don't remember who it was the bigger the menu, the less that food's probably going to be. Because if you've got, if you've got pizza and lobster and quesadillas on the same menu, I have a hard time believing you specialize in all of those products. Like there's probably some corners being cut there somewhere.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent read. This has been wonderful. If I don't get 10 minutes of KU basketball analysis from you, I'm going to be removed from this radio station. So can I do that
All
now?
right.
Does that
What
work
do you
for
want?
you?
Yeah, what do you want?
Just the buffet, really. Just a buffet of takes if I could get them. No, like give me this. Give me we talked last week and we talked about how KU, like over the course of this season, had not fully established what their identity was going to be, and that there were some times where it feels like they were getting warmer. They got close to maybe figuring all that out, but I'm curious. We had the blowouts over the crummy teams, but then you get the game against Texas Tech, and you get just sort of a nice you get an in-control victory. It wasn't comfortable the whole way there, but you get a nice in-control victory where McCormick keeps playing well. They didn't shoot out of their minds, but they were shooting well enough. 67 points will get it done when you have a nice defensive outing. Again, McCormick's playing well. All of that. Did you learn anything against Texas Tech?
Yeah, I think, first off, the win over Texas Tech was validation for those who felt like what they'd seen in the previous 4 games from Kansas was more than just beating up on bad teams. Because that to me is the biggest sort of fallacy in sports, is the idea that you can't learn much from when a good team plays a bad team, like when the Chiefs beat the Jets. It's like, oh, it's the Jets. Well, if the Chiefs are good and the Jets are really bad, then the Chiefs should beat them by a lot.
Right.
If I remember correctly, when the Chiefs played the Jets earlier this year, they beat them by a lot.
Yes, correct.
That's the same way with college basketball, any sport. If you play a bad team, it's not just that, oh, there's nothing to learn from this. It's, no, how well do you play against them? And so in that 4-game stretch, which we knew going into it, and we talked about this a lot on my show, is that you're supposed to go 4-0 in this stretch. Oklahoma State was the only sort of coin flip game, and even that KU was favored in. But the next 3 games, 2 against Iowa State, K-State, those are 2 of the worst high major teams in college basketball. You should beat them by a lot. You look back at it in retrospect, and there were still a lot of skeptics who said, okay, what's the big deal? 3 of those teams aren't even going to the tournament. Okay, they held Oklahoma State to 66 points. That was their lowest scoring output of the season. They held Iowa State to 50 points. That was their lowest scoring output of the season. They had Kansas State to 41 points. Not only was that their lowest scoring output of the season, it was the lowest scoring output by any high major team in college basketball this season. So up until that point, those 4 games, up until the point when you played Texas Tech, you could have looked at it and said, is KU playing good defense? Yes. How much does it matter? How much does quality of opponent matter? Well, I would say if you held 3 straight opponents to their worst offensive performance of the season, meaning nobody played better defense against them than you did, that seems like more than just playing bad teams and doing what you're supposed to do. That seems to me like a team who is starting to establish their identity defensively. Now, did KU have more to gain by playing good against those teams? Absolutely. They came off a really bad month in January, so they were probably more incentivized to play their best game against those teams than perhaps the Baylors or the Texases of the world when they face Iowa State and Kansas State. But I still wanted to see them do it against a good team. I wanted to see what they would look like against a legit top 20 team, a team that's a surefire lock to go to the NCAA tournament, which is exactly what Texas Tech did. And Kansas did play really good defense. Mac McClung is one of the best individual scorers in the Big 12. I thought they did an incredible job on him, especially over the first 30 minutes or so. I think they kind of let their foot off the gas the last 10, but whatever. They got the job done, and that's not the headline. The headline to me was they did an incredible job on Mac McClung. They're switching more on ball screens. They're swarming to defenders. It just looked really, really good. But what was perhaps the icing on the cake for me in making me think that this team has sort of turned a corner, so to speak, is that they finally had the offense to match this defensive identity that they've established. And while the box score, you look back at it and you say, really, was their offense that great? I mean, they shot 48% from 2. That's about average. They shot 31% from 3. That's below average. They went 8 for 26 from 3, Josh. And the 2 stats that stood out to me when KU's went over Tech was 26 and 6. 26 is the amount of threes they took. 6 is the amount of turnovers that they had. And Jesse Newell of the Kansas City Star, I would highly recommend checking out his work because he's the one who kind of put me onto this a couple of weeks ago, and he's written about it extensively over the past month or so in the Kansas City Star. And the working theory is essentially that if you're not going to be a good shot-making team, which for the most part Kansas isn't, just in terms of their field goal percentage offense It's one of the worst that Bill Self's had in his time at Kansas. Then you need to maximize your possessions the best you can. Feeding the post, which they like to do, going inside to David McCormick, because that's a couple things. It takes time, first off. It's relatively inefficient compared to most other shots in basketball, college, NBA, or otherwise. And that's where a lot of turnovers come, is trying to hit entry passes in the post. This is not a good passing team. So it's sort of a perfect storm for this being a team that has trouble feeding the post and getting good post looks. So what did they do? They took a lot of threes. And while they didn't hit many of them, when you take a three, that automatically means you're not going to turn the ball over. And taking a three gives you a better chance of putting points on the board than making a turnover. And a lot of those threes, by the way, were passes out of the post from David McCormick to guys like Christian Brown and Ochai, who are above-average shooters, who just missed open shots.
Yeah.
But Bill Self, one of his biggest basketball philosophies, or just pillars of what he believes is good basketball, is that a shot is good when it leaves your hands, whether or not it goes in or not. A good shot is a good possession. KU had a lot of good shots on Saturday against Tech, just didn't hit a lot of them. Christian Brown, Ochai took 18 threes between the two of them. I would guess 14 of them were shots that they could or should make. They make shots that they should. I think KU kind of runs away from Texas Tech as opposed to it being 6-point win. This is a long-winded answer, but I think the point I'm kind of getting at is that KU has clearly established their identity on defense, and Texas Tech was the first time where I felt like they are maybe taking steps in the right direction towards establishing a similar, albeit not quite as effective, of an identity on offense. It's going to be a high-variance sort of style of play if they continue to shoot threes and continue to feed David McCormick, but I do think that's their best path moving forward. Big question becomes, can you do it against Texas? Texas has two very long, athletic big men, one of whom can stretch out and shoot. They've just got more offensive weapons than I think Texas Tech has. They are a team that's struggling right now. But Saturday was validation for me. Tuesday will be a game where it's not just validation. It's, okay, not only has this team turned a corner, not only is this team improving, but you start taking them seriously as a top 10, 15 team in the country, and a team who absolutely has at least the makings of being someone who can make a run in March.
So the specifics of the threes, and again, particularly because with Brown and Ochai, the sort of the quick math of like how many of those shots were good when they took them, I think is a excellent metric of trying to get a better grasp of what the ceiling of this offense is closer to the point where, like, with everything you just said, I actually can like only get a little bit more optimistic about, again, the ceiling potentially rising if those guys hit shots that, not shots we've never seen them make, but shots we've seen them make many times over. Like, you know, for the slumps notwithstanding, God bless Christian Brown for continuing to take those shots over and over and over again, because they keep going up. They're just not going in. But I think that it's not that many stretches of the imagination, not that many logical leaps that you have to take to get into a reality where those guys are hitting their shots in March, and all of a sudden KU does have the exact equipment that you would want to make a deeper run than you would have expected, even just by the time we get to the end of the regular season. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I could go both ways, because I think Christian Brown and Ochai are both above-average shooters. I think Ochai is a top 15, 20 shooter in the country, but something that's pretty apparent at this point is that they're just going to be streaky shooters.
Yeah.
Right? They're just going to be guys who one night they may go 12 of 26 as a team. The next night they may go 3 of 23, which ironically is what they did against Texas the last time out. I think the sort of bigger picture outlook on continuing to take those threes is that, what's your other option? If you're not going to take open looks from the perimeter, because that's what we're talking about. It's important to make a distinction of, this isn't a team that just decided, hey, we're going to start jacking up everything. I think this is a team that is trying to get better at being assertive and not hesitating when they have open looks. You have to. If you're a team with shooters who aren't going to take open looks, you become so incredibly easy to defend, because teams are just going to pack the paint. And that's what we saw against Texas Tech. They knew that KU was going to feed David McCormick, and something that's been such a vast improvement for him since the beginning of the season was They double-teamed him because Tech didn't have size. They go inside to Dave. He's got somebody who's 6'7" on him. Immediately, they send a second body on him. Back in December, early January, Dave's probably forcing a shot up from 4 feet over 2 defenders, and it's not going in. The David McCormick that we saw on Saturday was getting double-teamed, knowing that there's somebody open somewhere across the perimeter, and he was firing it across court to find the open man. Those guys just didn't hit shots. Dave finished the game with 2 assists. He easily could have had 6 or 7, and we're talking about it being one of the more impressive performances we've seen from any Big 12 player this year. It didn't pan out that way, but I do think it still gives you a little bit of insight into where this team is improving and what their offensive mindset is. So to answer your question, I do think this is a team that could get hot at the right time. They're not going to go 6 straight and win the national championship by Ochai and Christian shooting 40% from 3. It's nice to think about, but it's probably not going to happen. I don't think they need to do that for 6 straight games, but they can't shoot the way they've shot these last 3. Yeah. The offense against Iowa State, K-State, and even Texas Tech, I believe those 2 guys were, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4. I think it was 5 of 18, something like that. It was really bad for the previous 2 games. And then those 2 go, I think, 5 of 18 in just 1 game. Like, you have to have your best shooters knocking down shots. It can happen. We've seen it happen in spurts. We just haven't seen it happen for an extended period of time.
Last thing here then, Nick, you mentioned some of the differences between Texas Tech and Texas and the different challenges they present. Obviously, this ends up being a rematch of one of the most sort of like, I don't know, just disastrous KU basketball performances I've ever seen. They lost to Texas the first time in a way that KU football would lose to Texas. Like, it was difficult to watch them get run off the floor at Allen Fieldhouse. It was a mess. What's going to be different this time? These teams are obviously very, very different, both on both sides, where KU has figured some things out. Texas has done the opposite of figure some things out, it seems. But what do you expect to see in this matchup, and then what is going to be different in terms of what KU has to deal with as opposed to the game against Texas Tech?
I hate to keep talking about the same thing here, but Texas went 12 of 26 from 3 in that game. That's 46%. Mm-hmm. Prediction number 1, bold prediction number 1, Texas is not going to go 12 of 26 from 3 again tomorrow night.
Big take.
Kansas went 3 of 23 from 3 in that game. That's 13%. Bold take number 2, Kansas isn't going 3 of 23 from 3 on Tuesday. Is Texas better than Kansas? Maybe. Are they 25 points better than Kansas? Absolutely not. Now, it's kind of weird because ever since Shaka Smart got diagnosed with COVID, and I'm not saying this has anything to do with it, it's just sort of weird timing. Since that happened at the end of January, they had 10 games off. Since then, they are 2-4 in their last 6 games. And when you look at the common threads in most of Texas losses, it's turnover margin. When they have like 12 or more turnovers, they're a 500 ball club. When they have less than 12, they're undefeated. Same thing with defensive turnovers. When they force 12 or more turnovers, I think they're 7-1. When it's less than that, it's like 5-6. I don't know. The math could be off there. They're 13-6 on the season, so that's definitely off. But it just goes to show that that's the case for most teams. I get it. Seems like common sense. Don't turn the ball over. Force turnovers. You're going to win. But with Texas, it's so drastic. It seems to be a sort of non-negotiable for them when they win. They can't turn the ball over, and they have to force turnovers. Something we just talked about earlier. Kansas, these last 4 or 5 games, have had, I think, 3 of their best marks in terms of avoiding turnovers because I think they're shooting more threes, and it's an easy way to avoid turnovers. I actually asked Bill Self about that earlier today, and he thinks it definitely is a correlation. He actually just said last week he doesn't think this is a good passing team. Well, a lot of those passes that turn into turnovers are trying to feed a guy who's sealing his man down in the post. If you're just swinging it around the key and trying to find an open guy on the perimeter, much less likely that there's going to be a turnover. So I think what will be different is that there won't be such a massive shooting discrepancy in terms of three-point shots, and I don't expect Kansas to turn the ball over. I don't even know if they turned it over a ton against Texas the first time. I'm looking at it right now is 12. I think if you keep it to single-digit turnovers, if you can knock down a respectable number, 33, 34, 35% of your threes, and hope that Texas, who isn't a great three-point shooting team, they're about an average three-point shooting team, doesn't go nuclear from deep like they did the first time around, I think you win. This is a coin flip game. And a lot of those losses that Kansas had early in the season, I mean, they don't have many bad losses. Every loss they have is to a tournament team. Even Oklahoma State, who's, I guess, technically not eligible to play in the tournament, I mean, they're going to be a tournament team. They're playing right now, and I stepped out of the room to do this interview, so thanks a lot. I don't even know if they're beating Texas Tech right now. But they don't have a bad loss. And I think a lot of those games, you just kind of boil down to coin flip games. They could go either way. Kansas lost a lot of those coin flip games early on in conference play where other teams were winning them. I once again see this as a coin flip game, just as I did on Saturday. Kansas won that one. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if Kansas wins tomorrow night down in Austin. It seems like that sort of prototypical Bill Self big-time win on the road where they put the social media out, video out afterwards of him coming into the locker room and everybody going crazy and throwing water on each other. Maybe they won't do that because of COVID, but it just kind of feels like one of those games where you win it and all of a sudden, all the conversations and everything we've been saying about this team for the past 2 months are sort of thrown out the window because at that point you're on a 6-game winning streak. You're one of the hottest teams in the country. And you got a matchup on Saturday against Baylor, who I don't think anybody would pick KU to win, but Baylor's also a team who hasn't played in 3 weeks. So I think you would go into that final game of the season with a ton of confidence and looking at yourself as sort of peaking at the right time, which is exactly what you want to be doing heading into March.
If they do win this game tomorrow, Nick, I hope they have not bottles of water, but buckets full of Arby's sauce, just slathering the locker room full of it and absolutely ruining whatever carpet they're standing on.
It would be so confusing for anybody who didn't listen to this interview tonight, but I'd be all for it.
Does that include anybody? I kind of assume that everyone is listening right now. That's just how I'm always operating, as if the entire world is tuned in and hanging on every word.
That's probably a smart way to go about your line of work. I might try to copycat that next time I go on the air.
I mean, good luck. It takes a very strong. It takes a very strong person to feel this level of confidence in everything that we've done and not be second guessing it at all times, 24/7, 365. That's not me. That's somebody else. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Josh.
The Arby's loving, Arby's sauce slathered Nick Schwerdt here on Almost Entirely Sports. Follow him on Twitter at Nick_Schwerdt. Listen to Rock Chalk Sports Talk on 1320 KLWN and 101.7 FM Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 in Lawrence. You can also listen to Basketball Friends with him and Matt Tate. The snippet this week is very good, and I would encourage you to at least watch that. You can see that on Nick's Twitter, at Nick_Schwerdt. We went way too long with Nick because that's the thing that we do. We basically just did 2 segments in one. We did an RB segment and a KU basketball segment, and that feels right. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, video game character bracket.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
Have you seen what's happening with the stock market? Record highs every day. How long can this possibly go on for? By the way, this is exactly what happened right before the 2000 dot-com bubbles burst. Remember that? Protect your savings in retirement by putting them into something safe like real gold and silver. I'm not talking about gold or silver stocks, but into real gold and silver you can actually hold in your hands. How do you get real gold and silver? By calling the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. Now, the Oxford Gold Group will teach you everything you need to know about owning real gold and silver. It's so much easier than you think. So call the Oxford Gold Group right now at 833-600-GOLD to get your free gold and silver investment guide. The Oxford Gold Group is the only gold and silver company that I trust, and you should too. Get the Oxford Gold Investment Guide today and learn how easy it is to have real gold and silver delivered to your home or how to have real gold and silver in your retirement account. Call the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. That's 833-600-GOLD.
In these trying times, Kansas City Credit Union knows how important cash flow is in your household. With rates near all-time lows, now's the time to take action. Free up some cash by lowering your monthly car loan payment when you refinance your auto loan with Kansas City Credit Union. And as a bonus, Kansas City Credit Union will delay your payments for 90 days. Visit kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports for more information. Kansas City Credit Union, your path to financial freedom.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. I played linebacker. I won a state championship. I played Division I ball. I know a thing or two about winning. A winning attitude starts with confidence. My law firm is so confident in what we do that if we take your injury case and we don't win, you don't pay us a dime. So if you've been hurt, call me. My team wants to win for you. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know. 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
This is your 30-day warning.
Deep three. Ring it up. It is good. As time expires.
From ruin to redemption, the Virginia Cavaliers. Chalmers, 4-3 and a tie. He got it. He got it.
March Madness, the Final Four, and National Championship are all on America's largest all-sports radio station. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
We're a buffet today.
Yes, that's a great call.
And we are absolutely shoving it down your throats.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so there's one good buffet, and it's this show. I'll tell you what, if we are a buffet, we're the buffet at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday at a strip club. That's the buffet that we are. The Ringer.
Can I get a spread over here?
You couldn't have just at least gotten that joke out 1 second sooner?
I had hit the on button because I was afraid of the fan there for a second.
Of course not.
You know my joke timing.
It wouldn't be funny then.
You know,
It's
Beards'
perfect.
favorite food at a naughty buffet?
What is it?
Chicken strips.
Bones.
You know, a second.
So when you made that joke, though, in my head, I heard the rim shot with the laugh track because I play that like a lot during the morning show.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the morning show is a thing. So like, there are like anytime somebody makes a joke, a rim shot with a laugh track is like ingrained in my head.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. So the Ringer started a bracket. It's not March yet, but it's a great idea. They're just blowing through it right now. It's all moving very fast. But they have a video game bracket for the greatest video game character of all time. The first round voting is already closed, which is kind of wild. But I want to blast through it here and see if there's anything that we take great offense to, and just kind of see where it's at right now. We'll circle back in. No show tomorrow because of the KU game. We'll circle back in Wednesday or Thursday and see how it's going. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there? I wish there was an 8-bit version of this song for this segment. It would have been great. I don't think there's a way that you can 8-bitify it.
I don't think there's an 8-bit.
Is that a little loud to anybody else?
I was getting it turned down.
First matchup, 116. Mario from Mario and Clementine from The Walking Dead. That was a blowout. It's fine. We're good,
That's
right?
fine.
Mario deserving 1 seed, yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Clementine probably shouldn't be a 16 seed. It's a great character and a fun game, but like
But there's 64 characters.
Mario's obviously like gonna blow through that.
8-9 in that region. Miss Pac-Man versus Sephiroth. Is this going to be one of yours from Final Fantasy?
Yeah. So Sephiroth. I mean,
Miss Pac-Man advanced.
nothing really does anything for me, or neither does a lot for me.
Nothing in this world does anything for me anymore.
Yeah, I was never
Rudy
really
Salazar staring into the void.
I would pick Sephiroth, but I'm not like I don't really care about either.
That's fine. If there's something you're heated about, hop in. Otherwise, 5-12 was Tails from Sonic advancing over Albert Wesker of Resident Evil.
They're both overrated characters, honestly.
Wow.
Tails is probably better.
4-13, It's Henry Cavill from the game about witches versus
From the Netflix TV show.
From the Netflix TV show.
And the book.
And the book up against Big Daddy from BioShock.
I would argue Big Daddy did win this.
I voted. I don't.
Henry Cavill's Big Daddy.
Mark that one, Beard. I don't want to do your job for you. But Rudy just saying the phrase Henry Cavill's Big Daddy, I think will be useful for your dark needs.
I will say, though, I am surprised that A, the Big Daddy is this low,
Yeah.
and B, that it didn't get as many votes.
I voted against Gerald.
I'm good with this. Gerald, yeah.
Again, Big
I'm good
Daddy
with this.
did win.
Well, obviously, Witcher 3 is my favorite game. I'm good with this.
Big Daddy won.
All right, here's a big
This
issue. This one's a problem.
I've got problems.
This is because of the ringers.
There are a couple of these that I've got problems with.
This one,
vein.
this one is my
is a bad
second
one.
biggest beef here.
Yeah.
Bowser, the 6th seed, up against Michael Vick from Madden 2004, the 11th seed.
Not from Madden.
Here's the other thing. Michael Vick won, and Michael Vick's a better football player than Bowser, but he's not a better video game
Could you
character.
imagine Bowser as a pass
No.
rusher?
But here's the
That's
thing.
fair.
Michael Vick in 2004, because that's the thing. It references 2004,
Sure.
Madden 2004. It's the most dominant, football player in a video game ever.
But it's
Michael
Bowser.
Vick. But it's Michael Vick would have. Here's the thing.
If
Michael Vick was in,
Tails-
if Michael Vick was in the Mario games, Bowser wouldn't keep stealing Peach.
So Michael
Vick
Vick
should have won.
He should beat Mario.
Michael Vick should have won.
I disagree.
He did
100%.
win.
Not on their website.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, he did.
Michael Vick won. Oh, what are you looking on?
I'm on the Ringers website.
Oh, I'm on their Twitter poll thing. Is that the final results that you're
I
looking
could have
at?
sworn. Yeah, the final results: 16,136 votes to Bowser, 5,943 votes to Michael Vick. This is on their
Michael
article.
Vick got the majority of 18,000 votes on Twitter. We'll have to circle back on this later.
That's
I don't
fine,
know. Election contested.
And so, I guess this poll is probably not the Twitter. I assume this was also the Twitter poll. This must be a poll
They're
built into.
definitely going to be different.
Yeah.
I'm just going off the Twitter. If the
Gotcha.
winners change,
I'm on their
we'll-
the Ringer website.
Anyway, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
We gotta go.
I understand. Scorpion from Mortal Kombat beat Frogger, which is pretty funny. I voted for Frogger.
That's fine.
Chun-Li from Street Fighter beat the Assassin's Creed boy.
Lost 2.
Sorry, that's
See,
accurate.
Mine says she won.
Well, I don't know.
That one's fair,
215
by the way.
Donkey Kong versus Batman. That's a hell of a matchup.
Another one. Batman's not from video games.
But he's in
But he
video
is.
games.
It even says the Arkham series Batman, because that Batman is from the video games.
Sonic advanced over Sam Fisher. Leon from Resident Evil versus Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5. Trevor advanced, at least on the Twitter one. GLaDOS from Portal lost to Gears of War boy on Twitter?
I mean,
what?
I was a little surprised at this.
512.
I will say, though, Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War is literally one of the faces of Xbox. So that's
GLaDOS.
understandable.
I'm stunned that GLaDOS lost.
I am too.
Pac-Man beat Cortana, 412, or 413.
A little surprising.
This one is a brutal matchup. 6-11, Yoshi versus Crash Bandicoot. They're both underseeded. That's crazy seeding. 6 versus 11, Yoshi advanced, at least on the Twitter one. How do you feel about this one, Beards?
What is this bull bleep?
It's some angry boy from Red Dead Redemption versus digital Mike Tyson from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mike Tyson advanced, at least on the Twitter one.
This is bull bleep.
Which
First Red Dead, John Marston.
Find it. I feel like he won on their article, but I'm trying to find it because it's not in the same order.
This is very much a video game-ified version of Mike Tyson, which even
He's
more
the
so
most
than like Michael Vick.
He's the most dominant video game you could say boss in the history of video
I mean,
games.
it is.
Ryu beat Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. Kratos, 2 seed, versus Fox McCloud, the titular Star Fox, the 15 seed. The disrespect for Star Fox here is infuriating.
Is it?
Yes! He's Star Fox!
Yeah. Star Fox 64 was such a good game.
You don't think this is foxed up, Beards? I enunciated that
I noticed.
so
Thank
well.
you.
Link, 1 seed, versus the Prince from Prince of Persia. This was, that was easy.
That was a slaughter.
Luigi versus Bo Jackson. Luigi versus Bo. What are we doing?
He's the most. The other most dominant There are two like sports characters athletes who are just dominant in games. It's Bo Jackson from Tecmo Bowl and it's Madden 04 Vic.
Are there actually 64 of these?
I'm assuming.
There are.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're kicking into gear. You guys can scroll down. If you find a matchup you want to highlight, you tell me. There is a Final Fantasy Red Dead 2 matchup. Did you guys have passionate feelings about that one?
No. I had problems with that one.
Nope. Arthur Morgan won. I'm good.
It's one of the most overrated characters in video games.
Oh, wow. Shut up.
Cloud literally has a
Cloud Strife was a
sword
13 seed.
that is a gun also. He's a much better
Weenie.
character.
He's a weenie. Is
He's
what he
a
is.
much better character than.
I have one thing I want to be mad about.
Okay, Pikachu's a 2 seed, which I feel good about.
I've been replaying the Mass Effect games recently.
Yeah.
Because I'm excited for the remaster that they're coming out with.
Sure.
Commander Shepard is a 16 seed. He unfortunately has to go up against Master Chief.
Yeah.
Commander Shepard should not be a 16 seed. Those games are fantastic. I'm sad.
Here's my
biggest problem. I wonder. We might be on the same one.
Is this a 611?
Is this a 611? That Goosewood bleed Doomslayer up.
No, I'm going to the other 611.
Oh, you're on the other one. Okay.
The other 611 is Tony Hawk, a human being, versus Tom Nook from Animal Crossing.
Oh, wait. So I'm curious what happened because in the article. Oh, in the article, Tom Nook wins.
On Twitter, Tony Hawk ran away with it.
Yes.
Tony Hawk is.
It's a great game.
Man.
So here's the thing. That part doesn't bother me. The game is great. But Tony Hawk in the game is just so-so.
He's
just fun.
Tom Nook is at the core of Animal Crossing. This is
not
important to me that Tom Nook advances
There's
this.
not a better villain in all of video games than Tom Nook.
He also
He's the ultimate villain.
He also might be a hero. It depends on your vantage point. He's giving you interest-free loans. Maybe he's a hero, or he's also showing up at your door to shake you down and get your bell.
That's where he gets you, though. You're like, oh, interest-free. I'll just keep taking out loans. Yeah, just loan after loan after loan.
But he gives you infinite time to pay them back.
It's true. He's the smartest villain. Yeah,
I think that there have been polls taken in multiple places, and so seeing what happens whenever all of these are brought together.
I'm now looking at the Tony Hawk Tom Nook. There's 12,000 votes, basically. If you go to the article, there's 36,581 votes.
So maybe this article
the article is all the votes together, where Tom Nook wins 56 to 44.
Also, the article, I have one more real quick.
The article is the actual results.
5 seed versus 12 seed. Nathan Drake versus Johnny Gat from Saints Row 4. Why is Johnny Gat on this list? Even in the games, he's dumb.
Did he
Never
lose,
played him,
Nathan Drake?
No, he lost. But
there you
it's
go.
why is he there? There are so many other better characters that you could have chosen from.
I think my favorite matchup is Luigi versus Bo Jackson. I think that's my favorite just to say out loud.
Luigi won, by the way.
That's either perfect or infuriating. I honestly don't care. Bye, Mom!
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening, who's able to hear more than what's being said, and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel